The stream. It's time. You're here. It's time for the stream. Matt, let's fucking go.
Yeah, and I also did just spill a bit of water before I was ready to go. So you know how it is. It's as always, we're here exactly on time. Because something wizard when they need to be, etc., etc. Not a whole array of, dare I say it, technical difficulties. But it's fine. Everything is good. We have more capabilities than before. We have actually
look at this.
A whole bunch of new... Oh, dear. What's he doing?
Look at this, everyone.
What are we looking at?
60 FPS.
Yeah, we have... We have frames, and we also have fine-tuned audio control for those frames.
We are popping. Now... Is there a bizarre color cast on the entire room? Yes. Is there still an escape light behind my head? Yes. Is it becoming ever increasingly apparent how thrown together this room is as every month or two a bit of the... It's not a wall that's behind Matt. It's a bunch of pieces of cardboard.
Yeah. As you can actually see very much up there. It's very good. It's very good.
You know, we're still semi-pro.
Yeah.
We have a new stream room. We've had it for over half a year. Yeah. We should really put shit in it.
Yeah, but that's the thing. We have too much ambition for it.
That's it.
So if all these grand plans, and all those grand plans would take like weeks to actually make into really super cool stuff. And we're just like, well, this is the problem, right? If we're like, okay, it is time for us to stop making content to, make better content in the future. Oh, wait, shit, we can't stop making content because... You could argue either one, the machine hungers, or two, we don't want you guys to go without. So that's kind of how it is. Why are you playing with your piano wire? I mean, your garage.
So, I mean, something that I think, because you guys can't actually see, but it's
not good here.
Every bit of this table that you can't see is basically like Asmongold's bedroom.
They can't actually see the table at all.
Yeah, okay, great. The table's like Asmongold's bedroom before he cleaned it.
No. It is not that bad.
Okay, it's not that bad. Now, the whole room was about 50% of Asmongold's bedroom. Like, literally, I have the main set over there. This is over here. And it was a fucking state. And then I had a manic cleaning day. But just to illustrate how mad it is, we've got used cups that need to be cleaned. You know, I've got my monster juice. And, of course, a garrote.
A wire saw.
It just in case we need to kill someone.
It's a wire saw for cutting through things whenever we need to.
Yes, it was from a bespoke post sponsorship.
Was indeed.
A year and a half ago, there was a bunch of like outdoors gear. So the idea is this is like a wire saw. You can actually cut through wood with this. It's really cool. It's like all serrated and shit. But yeah, I just remember one day like I was fiddling with it. I think what was one of the guys that came in anyway, and they're like, "Are you an assassin?"
Oh yeah, it was James. Yeah.
There you go. Taliesin was right.
Yeah. That said, I will provide a little bit of balance for the fact that, there might be some things here that wouldn't be nice to show on camera, very unorganized. But also, because I had to move some of the cables around for the fireside chat that is currently live on Steam in the Pale Beyond.
Where's this, the Pale Beyond on Steam?
Yeah, it will be on the YouTube channel next week with a couple of changes. But I was doing some re-cable management, and my god, the cables outside of over here, down under this table is beautiful.
It's
perfect.
Honestly,
yeah,
you might pop one.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
Now also, we should probably talk about World of Warcraft.
Who?
Because I don't know who World of Warcraft is. Whoa, I hear people say. I would say, yeah, but what's I going to say? Yeah, someone said something about it's a slow news week, but that's actually it is sort of true in terms of you look at numbers of bits of news, but there's actually enough bits of news that actually. I mean, you probably gathered it from the title. Actually, kind of.
Yeah.
Wrath Classic suddenly looks substantially different in a really meaningful way.
Dude, you walked into work without seeing the news, or like you just glanced the headline on Wowhead, and I was like, Matt, this changes everything in the finest tradition of our titles and thumbnails. And you were just kind of like, what? And I'm like, no, Matt, get a load of this. And I explain it. And then Jared walks into the room, and we're all just like, oh, holy fuck, that actually does change a hell of a lot. So, you know what, Matt? While we do have a bunch of Dragonflight stuff, do you want to head straight into the Wrath Classic thing? Because I feel like that's what's popping, and it's honestly, dude...
Just before that, I will say the Dragonflight stuff is also pretty good.
It is, yeah.
I played a little bit more of it. I'm still impressed with everything, and the class changes. We have like a full doc of everything they promised and like feedback and stuff like that in the blue post, and this doesn't feel like Blizzard. That's the one thing I've taken away. Is like, are we in the full-on Twilight Zone? There's the video will go up soon, but there's like a whole load of drama over an FF14 over job balance, and then in World of Warcraft, class feedback is getting addressed within 2 weeks. I'm like, what fucking upside down world am I in?
World of Warcraft is good.
Yeah,
You are entering.
Yeah,
I don't know what I was going to say after. Actually, I know what I was going to say after that. I was going to say you are entering the cum zone. Because of those fucking music videos that our group used to listen to during raid fights in Natria.
Yeah, that's a bit of lore I'm not sure people needed to know. But
no, the cum zone's great. Just put the cum zone into YouTube. It's a bunch of funny musical numbers.
There's definitely okay.
They are not safe for work.
They're extremely not safe for work. There's a lot of actual genuinely inappropriate stuff in there, but yes.
Margaret Thatcher, cum snatcher.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
other such. Was it David Hayter, Cum Crusader? That
that was a good one. Yeah. No, there's basically before the death of music bots on Twitch, on Discord, we had a lot of fun.
Yeah, like it would be the sweatiest moment. You just like sweatiest moment of the boss fight. Enter the cum zone. And that's it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then of course the problem was we have in our guild the weebs and the non-weebs. So you guys would put on your
it was mostly me, to be honest.
Yes, you would put on all of the fast beats to weave baskets to from the 4chan. And then per souls like Nikki, who, maybe likes a bit of the old guitar, he'd just be fucking dying. He'd be like, what is this? What is this weeb shit? And then, so that for his fucking divisions in the guild over our musical preferences on the Groovy bot. And then the boss got killed.
It was all us.
Sad times, dude. So, want to get into it?
Of course.
Massive. This changes everything. So, Chris Zerhood was speaking to Mr. GM. And he was speaking to Wowhead. And they talked about a few things that they're doing, right? And here's the deal. This is some changes, like, not some tweaks. This is some changes with a goddamn capital C.
Yeah, these are like deeply fundamental changes to how the game's going to actively play in terms of looping during a loop, which is more than I expected them to do. It's substantial and it's great. Here's
what's going on. Phase 1 obviously is going to be Sartharion, Naxxramas, the Malagos one, like that's going to be your raids, okay? And then when Phase 2 comes out, then, well, hey, we're going into Ulduar, right? Big excitement. Now, it used to be, back in the day in Wrath of the Lich King, there'd be some funny business with the Valor Point. Okay, the badges weren't called this, but effectively we can say Badges of Justice and Badges of Valor. They would move up, but, other things wouldn't change, right? Like, what was your new way of, like, accessing the gear? Well, there'd be a new boss would open up in Vault of Archivon.
Oh, yeah.
But, the dungeon loot would, of course, be the same, right? The dungeon loot would be the same. It's like, okay, how are you going to get some loot? Well, perhaps after Ulduar, Trial of the Crusader, when, the Argent Crusade stuff comes out. So Blizzard have evidently looked at the overall situation here and they thought, okay, can we make some, like, change jujitsu? Technically small changes that have a humongous impact. And they've actually added a new difficulty mode to dungeons. It's called Heroic Plus, but before your head explodes, do not worry, there is no timer. I bloody well hope.
It's not, it's like,
no, there's no timer.
It's not, calling it Heroic Plus in the world where Mythic Plus exists is a terrible idea for branding. It is basically just they're introducing the idea of Heroic with a hard mode, because the way they explain it is you will basically, there's a ritual object as why this is literally going to be live. I don't know, some changes might happen to it, but there'll be a ritual object outside the dungeon. You and your 4 party members, so everyone has to do it. We'll channel it the same way you would like a summoning stone or a ritual or something, that kind of thing for warlocks, and then that will invoke some in-world shit that will then make the dungeon literally harder in terms of it'll like in the same way Mythic Plus scales, it'll like turn up all of the values to a little bit higher, but at a fixed value, so it's not like it's not eternally scaling. There won't be affixes as we know them. Chris said to Wohead at least that there will be some extra combat stuff in there to make it a little bit different.
Fuck yeah.
So assuming that is actually good and they actually kind of design that well, then it is effectively here's an extra, a slightly harder difficulty, basically so you can do dungeons at a higher level and not get wrecked for it.
Bro, you could rename this fucking Michael's Wet Dream because I'm that nerdy. No. You almost could, because the thing that like was my fucking jam back in the day was Cataclysm Heroics. Whenever Ghostcrawler did that, wow, dungeons are hard post, I was like, fuck yeah, let's go in here. And okay, we were doing it for like what, item level 178 blues at the start of Cata, but you see when you were doing those Cata dungeons in a static, ooh, chef's kiss, stone core, breaking bones upon bodies, great time. Just awesome. Dungeons can be awesome. Hard 5-man content is just goddamn awesome. But the problem always had been in World of Warcraft that you just do the dungeons and they're done. That's why Mists of Pandaria didn't have any dungeons added to it. Because Blizzard, they added 3 dungeons at the end of Wrath, and of course they added in the trial one. They added in dungeons throughout Cataclysm, and they found like, all right, we add new dungeons in, they're a bit harder, so everyone just does those. And now we've turned the dungeon pool from like 8 to 2. Uh-oh. And then in Mists of Pandaria, they're like, fuck it. There's really no place for dungeons outside of the launch. Why are we doing these again? So they add no more dungeons. And then in Warlords of Draenor, they make a set of goddamn beautiful, awesome dungeons.
Incredible.
Only for the duration of the expansion, almost, to have people not really doing that much because they didn't fucking matter until they invented Mythic. And that's the funny thing, because the original version of Mythic Dungeons is something that barely any players played. It was at the very end of Warlords of Draenor, which was a very low point for the game. It was the same patch they had at Time Walking. These were dungeons, they didn't have a timer. They were just those dungeons, but harder, and I think maybe some new mechanics here and there, but at the very least they were harder. And I remember going into them and thinking they were an absolute blast. So if that similar level of combat difficulty and engagement in a dungeon format can be applied here, I think that's going to be fantastic. Now, you might be wondering, what is looting like? How does this work? How does it fit into the game? Well, there's 2 broad categories we've got to talk through, and first I've got to talk through how raids are going to be working, right? Problem? Uh-oh.
No problem. Just I have noticed something is actually literally missing.
Something missing? Oh my. Well, while Matt fixes things, I'll take you through this. So, when Phase 2 starts, Naxxramas will be the old raid, Ulduar will be the new raid. And, if it's anything like what Modern WoW is like, people don't go to the old raid anymore. Now, the way that it's going to work is whenever Phase 2 starts, Naxxramas 10 will drop loot from Naxxramas 25. Now, if you have not played Wrath of the Lich King, you might not really understand what that means, because you'll just say, well, it's 10 normal and 25 normal. Surely they drop the same loot. No, they don't. Back in Wrath of the Lich King, well, first of all, normal and heroic did not actually exist for Naxxramas, right? It was just Nax 10, Nax 25. It was Ulduar that added in the hard modes, and then after Ulduar, it was codified into a difficulty mode that you could right-click and select in your character portrait. So 10-man and 25-man had different loot. 10 was easier than 25, 10 had a slightly lower item level of reward. So essentially, by making the 10-man drop loot from the 25-man, they make the somewhat easier, more puggable version, right, that requires less organizational effort to pug, they make it drop better loot. But of course, it's still loot that is below the current tier, because Naxxramas 25 is below Ulduar 10. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but how do I... Right, so I understand. They're making it so that I can just go and run Nax 10 to quickly get geared up with Nax 25 tier gear, which is like all going to be, real good and nice. Of course, you'll be earning, currency and stuff, and you can get currency from those. You can buy shit with your currency. That's great. You're thinking, how do I get there? Well, back in the day, you'd be running your dungeons, and, you'd be maybe getting some of those currencies to buy some badge gear. Well, now, this is when the Heroic Plus system comes in, because the loot that dropped from the previous tier's 10-man raid will drop from the Heroic Dungeon. So, if I was just kind of going to do a little thing here of item levels, okay? Yes. So we got Nax, 25, and I'll leave the hard mode out for now. Hang on, I should do it like this.
Yep.
So, right. Then we've got, of course, Ulduar 10, Ulduar 25. So, this is like your item levels, and basically it just means that whenever you go in to do these new heroic dungeons, HC plus, then we have HC dungeons. And I suppose put this like that, and then phase 2.
Tab those in a drop there just.
For some reason, can I?
Yeah.
Whoa.
How long have you been using Notion for?
Matt, you forgot something.
Oh yeah, I did.
I'm a moron.
Yep.
So, this is what our loot item levels are going to look like. Actually, see, this is a kind of weird way of visualizing it because Nax 10. You know what? Fuck this plan. It's fine.
They're it's
Can edit it better.
yeah. I mean, they're basically just kind of going. Here's all of the old stuff is now one up.
Yeah.
And
So
then HC dungeons are that level below. So
yeah, you run your regular HC dungeons. Those will get you like 170 something, 180 something, 183, I believe. Blues. That's me trying to remember my Wrath days. I haven't looked at the new stuff.
I'm always really bad at item
So
levels for some reason.
you're getting your 183 blues from normal heroic dungeons plus item level 200 rares, like that big sword that King Yearman drops, right? And then from those, Yimmeron, that's it. From those, you then move up to doing a HC plus dungeon, which will give you Naxxramas 10 gear. So once you've done some HC plus dungeons with your friends, you'll be in a bunch of, I don't know, I level 206 gear, I think, maybe. 206 or 209, one of those. And from that point, you've got all this Nax 10 gear that you got from the heroic dungeon.
Well, it's literally Nax 10 gear.
You can now literally go into Nax 10, which will now drop Nax 25 gear.
Yeah.
I know it's confusing, but they're obviously retrofitting it in. So this just means you have this nice smooth gradient from normal dungeon, heroic plus, Nax 10, and then that, once you've done a whole bunch of Nax 10s, you are raid ready for Ulduar. So this is going to prevent, one of the issues that now this is an issue that the Burning Crusade faced as an expansion. I mean, I say issue, to some people it's a big cool hill to ascend. Let's not install a ski lift on it. Here, they're obviously installing the ski lift to get you up the item levels, but they're at least doing that in a way where you're actually, earning via doing real goddamn content. Because even, you see when the Heroic Dungeon Finder came out, which, that was 3.3, right?
That's 3.3.
So, what would happen there when the Heroic Dungeon Finder came out is you'd spam heroics, dude. You would do your ICC trio, of course, and you'd spam heroics. Now, at the start of the expansion, heroic Halls of Lightning, that could whip your ass. And if you're a total dipshit, you'll also die, because, hey, it was Wrath, a lot of us were young and stupid, I certainly was. But especially in today's world, goddamn, they're going to be absolutely turned into a fine mist. So, that's what you were doing in patch 3.3, you're just running randos, just getting your, going to get some badges of frost.
Praying for Pitasaron to get some actual gear.
Bingo. And, when you were in those ICC trio dungeons, they were really fun. The rest, though, was just a big old grind. So now, a player who would have been doing that, what are they going to be doing? They're going to be going and running some real content. Assuming
to be determined.
They get the balance right.
Yeah, to be determined.
And I think that is really good. And I think that by incentivizing people to do the 10-man of the previous raid, by that dropping the 25-man gear, that is a really nice way to get people into raiding. Because one of the things that I think was very successful and healthy for World of Warcraft at that stage in time was that the 10-man difficulty mode, it was less socially challenging for a guild, and it was also easier than 25. A bit like how you have a normal mode and a heroic mode now. And that ended up working, I think, really well for that expansion. And indeed, as soon as you move into Cataclysm, where, you had 10-man, you had 10 normal, you had 25 normal. Cataclysm moved 10 up to 25. But then there would be instances where, of course, because you've got fewer players, if the mechanics scale down in a linear fashion almost, the 10-man mode could be more punishing. Like, I remember, as I keep on saying, my default anecdote for this is the council fight, towards the start of Throne of Thunder, which was way more of a fisting than 10-man. So, overall, I think that this is really them trying to refactor the whole thing into something that will feel just more healthy, more playable, that is going to be focusing people in on actually playing good content. I'm just really for this. In principle.
Yeah, that's one of the things you run into a lot of the time. You're in principle behind a lot of changes, and then it kind of doesn't pan out the way they intended. This one I very much imagine will pan out as they intended, because it is just, hey, we're just refactoring the loot loop to make more sense. And it doesn't stop it, but it's like a little bit of a blend between the versions of World of Warcraft that are TBC or vanilla, which is, well, difficulty-wise now, with how good players are, you could argue you can just skip stuff because you don't need as much item level to succeed. But theoretically, compared to how they're played at the time, there was like, here is the progression. Here is the linear progression of do raid for X weeks, get geared, now you can go to the next raid. That kind of linear progression standpoint that is now confined to difficulties only. It used to be actual content, so you'd have, I'm going to need to get X gear to do Y content, then I'll do X2 gear and get Y2 content. And it's like, it's preserving that, but that whole thing, that progression fell to absolute shit whenever they started to realize the like patch cycle of, we need catch-up gear. Because once catch-up gear started to exist as a concept, and then once catch-up gear stopped existing as a concept of, work for catch-up gear, and then started to be just the handouts to get people ready for the next thing, which they very much, like, that's very much what it is now, where it's, you can, like, not be geared from, like, 3 patches and then come back and be fine. You know, you could be a Shadowland. Well, Shadowland's a bad example because there's only 2 patches, but, you know, you go from 8.0 to 8.3 and there's enough catch-up to get in there to a degree, so it's like, it's preserving that experience of actual progression, because that's where it started to go a little bit wrong with all these difficulty curves, making it a little bit more sensible by adding steps along the way, which still feels a little bit of like a hand to the designer is still there, but at least they're being added in what seems like a pretty effective for the time sense. And one thing that I think is a pretty decent bit of flavor from this, and that was reading into the interviews and listening to Chris Sergett talk about it specifically. There's a lot of elements where he goes, I was the original designer on this, and this. I was the one who did the numbers for this at the time. And knowing that in mind, knowing the experience of how it actually went, this would be better now if I did this. Yeah. That was specifically talking about like some of the changes they're going to make to... Yeah, there's like when they were talking about nerfing the item levels and then decided to go another way instead. And that's very much like some of that, we need to balance this way, and then temper that with player feedback to go, we can solve the problem in a way that doesn't feel bad for you. And that's the idea of, this is more than Classic was and more than TBC was. This is very much almost in a couple of ways, especially when you look at like the removal of the random finder, or the withholding of it, some people might say, because people are like, it'll be there any day now. They'll give in, but it's very much a second chance at Wrath in a way.
Yeah,
that's what makes it interesting, especially specific items he's talking about wanted. If he gets time, he'll change some of them to be the way they wanted, and that is just, you get a second chance, but however many years later, so you actually have the experience and the tech and stuff like that.
Like, straight up, is it not pretty fucking cool? I mean, I know there's all the criticisms the world to make of Blizz. Don't worry, and we've made them. But is it not really cool that, like, many years ago, let's just say, Chris was working in this content, and maybe some other people in the Classic team. Yeah. And now he's like so much more experienced. He's got so much more shit under his belt. And now he can go back to, like, in a way, the glory days of his game design youth or whatever, and be like, I'm going to get a look at this again as someone who's had all this experience. And I'm going to deliver to you, like, my remastering design-wise of a thing I did. Yeah. Like, in principle, that's really cool. Like, how many times, you almost have like, it's a remaster or whatever, and it's just, they've tried to make a HD version of Assassin's Creed, and for some reason the lighting's broken and everything looks a bit weird. It feels like that. Whereas this is like, original designer, gets to go and change things up.
Yeah, and that's
Wow,
very
that's cool.
it's very different to making a sequel, because especially when you get into the realms of like World of Warcraft changing so much after Kata, this is very much a, hey, what if we take the last chance we have at correcting some of our mistakes from the past, or not even correcting our mistakes in a major way, but like improving things. So it's like, oh yeah, so we think that the gearing loop, yeah, dungeons were dead. How do you fix that? Let's make some harder dungeons. And they probably had that idea back at the time, but then they were like, well, we don't have content because sorry, everyone's currently working on Cataclysm, so we can't do that.
Knee deep rebuilding all of Azeroth.
So that's that thing where, hey, they are. I can see people complaining, well, it's not exactly like Classic, and that's the thing where I've went back and forward on this as I've seen changes happen, but I think they've been pretty good at writing the line of what's a change that makes sense, what's a change that's actually kind of good, and when it hasn't been good, winding it back, like, or talking about how they might wind it back with like some of the Seasons of Mastery, like removing world birth stuff. So I think that's very kind of not quite Classic Plus, but because people want more content. This isn't more content, this is some numerical tomfoolery added, but in a way that feels realistic to the time, in that if any of this stuff was added, or if Wrath was this way before, no one would have, it wouldn't be anachronistic.
Yeah.
And also I think the problem is that people, well, this is weird. I know people are going to disagree with me on this, but I feel like if you want Wrath Classic and you're waiting for Blizzard to make Wrath Classic, then you probably don't really want Wrath Classic all that much, because there's been private servers that give you accurate Wrath, or close enough to accurate Wrath, for a long time. And now Blizzard are actually taking proper design work to do to kind of fix small problems. It's like, this is the improvement. I know people will disagree, and that's completely fine. I can completely understand why you would want to not play P servers and wait for actual thing. I completely understand that, but it's still like, I think that this is objectively better. Yeah. Assuming it works.
Yep. Yeah, totally. So this is good shit. There's actually some more. So they have some bonus pet and mount rewards for tanks and healers in dungeons, and I guess some people would be like, well, that's unfair. But ultimately, if dungeons are more important, I think Blizzard know that maybe it's good if they can incentivize them. So the Death Chargers, Reigns, Swift White Hawk Strider, and Reigns of the Raven Lord can actually drop. I mean, I assume there's other bonus rewards too, but these are, the big ticket items with a low drop chance. And I assume they are just doing that as a targeted little bit of, here's a carrot, because the limiting factor is probably going to be tanks and healers.
Which is really annoying. So I talked this last week, actually, in regards to retail. But I have this problem where I really like the classes I love to play are hybrids, right? I love, especially in Classic, I love having that hybrid utility at the world. It is fantastic. Been able to do absolutely crazy shit because I'm in Handsome Shaman. Just like, wait, because I actually have. Here's an anecdote, right? It's I can't remember what it's called. Is it Bill Madan? No. Whatever the dwarven place is in the Barrens, where there's all like the riflemen and stuff, and you're sent in there by the Wandering Tauren. Because I'm playing Tauren Shaman. I was in there, and I was just clearing through. Troll Mage showed up. I was like, all right, we'll clear this place out together. And I was 25 maybe. 24, 25, or maybe it's 23. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But it was like the early 20s, and he was early 20s. Then we cleared it out, but then there's a level 30 mob, and level 30, in Classic times meant you basically can't hit them if you're 5-6 levels below.
Yeah.
So we pulled them anyway to see what the crack was, if we could get them, even though there's like no reward for it. But then we were like, okay, well, we're doing very little amounts of damage, and he's hitting me like a truck. But what I realized was, he wasn't hitting me hard enough, because I have a one-hander and a shield at the minute to make sure I don't take damage. I was sitting there, and I had Water Shield up, and I could just keep refreshing Water Shield, and I could use Lesser Healing Wave to mana efficient heal myself, and then Stoneclaw to draw attention to let me heal every now and again. So I had him this infinite loop, where I was generating more mana with Water Shield to heal myself back up than he could actually do damage to me, so we got him in the end. And I was just sitting there going, hell yeah, this is this is hybrid gaming. This is what it's about. And I love that experience in the world. But then you go over to, it comes time for the end game, which is a completely different experience. And one I've actually learned, I think I like the end game of World of Warcraft substantially less than I do the rest of it. And that's...
You've always been a big man for the alts, I've noticed.
Yeah, I've always been that, and I feel it more now than ever that I've been leveling loads in Classic. Even in Wrath, which is easier than the original versions. But it was this idea of just, Oh, yeah. So yeah, in game, I want to be enhancement. I want to do some damage. I want to do a bit. I want to, wreck Bill. I want to, a bit late to be one-shotting people with 2-hand Wind Fury. But, I want to have that experience of DPSing. But I know for queue times and for availability of actually getting into raid, I'll do the same thing I do in retail, which is I really want to play DPS because I want the experience of being DPS. But then, fuck it, I'll just heal because that's more efficient. And that's kind of the awkward experience I always have with World of Warcraft. So this is bad news for me because I'm just going to end up going resto. If I do make it to like 80, like fuck, fine, I'll just heal. Bad times.
Yeah.
This is the problem. The two video games that are World of Warcraft clash of each other and deliver me a slightly annoying experience. Which is obviously it's not a big deal. I could just suck it up in DPS. I could just go to Fiverr and pay someone to heal with me or something. But yeah.
Oh man, it's time to more than slightly annoy you because your favorite feature, Quest Tracker, is coming. It's just going to be coming later.
That's okay.
Yes. Now what is this? Let's see. Yeah, so this is with Warcraft Reloaded, where Brian Birmingham announced that the built-in Quest Tracker and Helper features will be making their way to Wrath Classic, but at a later date. And they feel okay about this because they were not implemented for Wrath's launch itself.
Yeah, it's very sad. I wish they would keep this out and get rid of it and entirely start the whole process of making World of Warcraft again without it. Because, and this is the awkward part, right? I have had the temptation because I hit the wall towards the end of the Barrens where like a lot of my quests were turning grey. I'm like, I really couldn't be bothered going to 1,000 Needles yet. I was like, I really struggled to optimize myself through the Barrens because I was just going all over the place because I'm really... Basically, I only play Wrath Classic when it's very late at night and I'm utterly wrecked. So I was like, I really desperately want to... Some part of me is going, just get questy. Then, because I want to get most use out of the bonus XP and, be close to 70 for launch stuff. But it's just install questy, Matt. Like the devil on my shoulder going, you can go very fast. You'll be able to make it. You won't fall behind the other people who are playing. You'll be grand. And I'm like, no, I have to like get behind me, Satan. I have to hold like my principles, my virtues intact. Because I know if I go, well, I've already done the Barrens before, so if I install Questy and then uninstall it after, it'll be fine. But I know I would be too weak to because the joy of bing, bang, wahoo numbers go up and my like extrinsic goal would be strong. So I'm like, no, I'm gonna have to hold back. I really wish, I don't want to make this a problem because like everyone's saying, everyone just uses fucking Questy anyway. Yeah. Almost literally everyone, actually everyone I've run into has played with has just questy like announcements for quests finishing. So it's like, just hold your ground, Blizzard. I wish they did, but with questy, it's hard to be pragmatic there.
Yeah,
which is the problem.
That's essentially the thing, and certainly as I have not leveled whatsoever, and it is looming, and I do want to play Wrath Classic. I am mostly thinking, oh dear.
Yeah, you're literally just gonna have to buy a boost and play on a different server. Just wait.
Can't not play on the server the boys are on. Like, that would be ridiculous.
Well, that's the only option.
So we do have a super from Caligula. I think it's an interesting one. They're taking a cue from hard modes in ESO. It's nice to see. I'm the minority, but I was never a fan of the speedrun mechanic of M+, plus the punishing aspect of the key depleting. So I think most people agree in key depletion. It's like, man, you can just get rid of that shit, and I think it would be better. And I was doing a little bit of research into what these hard modes are, right, in ESO. It's like a hard mode for a veteran dungeon, right? So I'll just read this from the wiki, and we can kind of see what ESO does for dungeons. I believe the way that it works in ESO is that you're basically like sort of getting gear from the dungeons, and then you can kind of like remake it at a higher level. I don't exactly know actually, but veteran dungeons have an optional death challenge, which is more commonly called the hard mode, that can be activated at the last boss. The hard mode changes certain aspects or mechanics of that boss battle, like restricting parts of the arena or adding new attacks, and it can be activated in one of several ways depending on the dungeon. Typically, you pick up a scroll of glorious battle that can be found on the floor near the last boss's area. Once you use that, basically, there you go, it's activated. It's different in some dungeons, basically. But yeah, there's like a toggleable hard mode, almost Ulduar hard mode style, at the last boss. Now, 6 out of 8 Veteran 2 dungeons have specific challenges to complete during the fight instead of using an item to toggle the hard mode. These dungeons typically challenge the party to avoid making use of protective mechanics or to complete a fight or phase without killing some enemies.
Like achievements and...
Yeah, like achievement style ones.
Yeah.
Hard mode criteria are just like listed as a optional objective for the Undaunted Pledge for any given dungeon. And and if you fail, then, you know, stuff resets, you die. There's also a thing called a challenge banner, which replaces the scroll-like thing, and they serve as a toggle for the hard modes. The main difference being that the banners just keep the hard mode toggled for the whole thing. And if you complete a dungeon with the hard mode, you get 2 Undaunted keys. And I then found out that these Undaunted keys are used for, like, buying shit, I guess. Don't really understand. But I just thought it was interesting the way that you can toggle on hard mode of a boss that like maybe has some new mechanics, or in some other situations where, I mean, take a look at, you know, like Glory of the Hero or something.
Yeah.
What would it be like if you completed the glory achievement requirements for a boss and it just gave you plus whatever % loot? You know, drop the loot at a slightly higher level, or, you know, something like that, right? Bit of an interesting little idea. Maybe it would encourage more people to go get their glory achievement because it could be a part of gearing, but then people would come in and be like, but that could lead to degenerate situations when playing in a group of players.
That's fundamentally the problem you run into, where you don't immediately agree exactly on what you're going to do at the start of a fight, and then it's like, oh, well, we're going to do this, oh no, we're going to do that, oh, we're going to do this, especially when it comes to large groups like 25 man, and don't kill this enemy, or, you know, don't use this. You immediately run into what I'm going to call social usability problems. And they're the kind of thing of Blizzard definitely would avoid those, because even like, well, maybe ESO is a bit of a different example because maybe it's a little bit more isolated in the sense, but even if you look at how like Riot and stuff are looking into all of their, you know, all of their different stuff, how they've worked with League of Legends, and it's all very much players, the less you interact, the better. The less that things are unclear, the better. There's a meta that we will support systemically in every reasonable capacity that there is there. You can go off meta, but you have to kind of agree to it. It's also being off meta intentionally is like, I'm not sure the last time it happened, but I remember there being a thing about it being like a bannable offense in League of Legends to intentionally play off meta, because it's like just this agreement of you have to play meta because that's how this game is played in ranked. In casual, do whatever the hell you want, but in ranked, it's like that. So that's like a whole thing of, you would need to have a way to maybe like advertise and select that that's going to be the way it's done, but that would need to be systemic and not just in the description of the, I was gonna say party finder group, the group finder.
We could take the principle and apply it elsewhere. Introducing World of Warcraft, the Coke Fiend Challenge. Now, here's World of Warcraft, the Coke Fiend Challenge, Matt. Imagine you take the end boss of every dungeon that comes out in an expansion, right? And you make like a trial version of that boss. So it's the same boss.
Trials in FF trial?
Trial is in an FF trial, right? It's the same boss, but you're like, okay, we've designed this boss as a bit of dungeon content. Now we're going to juice it to the tits and go insane. And then maybe that's like something where there was one of those bosses active every week, and you can go and do it with a group of 5 people or whatever. And it's like, it feels like going and doing like, you know, I don't know, Sarth 2D or something with just a few of the lads, right? Now that's the sort of thing that it's, you know, taking a little bit of an inspiration from how ESO is handling its hard mode. And you're like, oh, that would be cool. You've already done the boss. You've already done the voice acting. You've already done all these things. In the same way that in Final Fantasy XIV, they design a boss and then they're like, okay, what's the extreme version of this trial going to be? You know, could you do an extreme for all those end bosses? Like take the big blue woman, Davos.
The big blue woman.
That's it, Davos. Take her. Right, like she obviously should have been cooler. You know, done better in game, whatever. But I thought she had a pretty cool fight. It was a pretty visceral fight. Like, I'm not going to say it's the best, like, tightest design ever, but you know, it was pretty visceral. Shit was going on in the room.
Gimmicky, but yeah.
Take Solia. Now,
Yeah, Solea is a good ass fight.
Could you imagine Solea Extreme?
I would love to.
So
Oh,
that's basically
shit.
how
Oh
the
my
inspiration has kind of sparked in my head for a feature like this. Because, hey, we are literally accepting the reuse of content as a core part of WoW's design now. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, Blizzard lazy and bad.
True.
But loads of the same people have also turned around and been like, look how FF14 is able to reuse its dungeons. Why does the WoW team not do that? Right? So, if we're accepting this idea of, the season where you get 4 Dragonflight dungeons and 4 Greatest Hits dungeons, which I shall definitely say, in my experience of Season 4, has felt great. Those 2 odd dungeons, I've had a blast. The idea that I'm going to be able to do Shadow Moon Burial Grounds is fucking uber pog to me. And hearing that Skyreach and Auchindoun may even make it in,
I am.
a trillion times uber pog for me. Very excited. So if we are going to accept this idea of reusing some content, why not yank a boss out of a dungeon and make it into a trial and give us a trial every week? Why not make that boss extreme? I mean, hey Blizzard, you designed Solea. Solea is really, really cool. Imagine if you could go ham.
Nope. Sorry.
I will fight you.
Sorry, you don't understand. That would be an incredible idea. But that's not reusing content in the way Blizzard like to reuse content.
Okay, yes.
This is a problem where Blizzard seem always capped on design.
Wham, bam, slam, put an affix in.
They are always capped by their design and implementation capability. That's why we will get dungeons that are like dungeons from old expansions that are added and they're fired into the Mythic Plus, and then they're tweaked. And they're usually tweaked numerically. Sometimes they're tweaked implementation-wise, but that's fairly rare, unless there's like real bad usability issues. To be fair, they've been good at that in Season 4, but they're reasonably small changes. I have a funny feeling that in terms of I know mythical man wants to know man hours aren't really real is like a concept, but it's a good way to explain things. How much time and money would it cost for them to say, because you're talking about Solea there as a great example. I think Solea is a good boss. I immediately imagine how would you make that juicier and how do you make that more difficult at least. And I can't remember the name of the streets boss, the end boss that has the quadrants that you teleport around. The idea of having to teleport around the quadrants while Solea's got the thing, so you have to teleport to the right quadrant to hit the orb to make her not invincible anymore. That's the kind of stuff where you go there. Okay, that sounds well like you're reusing mechanic from another fight. That seems easy. All you have to do is, spread them out a bit and call it a stream. I have a funny feeling that the implementation of that on Blizzard's end is actually profoundly expensive and takes a lot of time to test and stuff. Should be done, but I imagine it's just not in their capability. Like
they're all grown up. They've been hiring like crazy. They have got an entire other development team, and this would be more efficient than making a bunch of trials from scratch. All the art's already, from an actual production capacity, if you're doing this, you don't need to have a legion of artists making current patch content instead of next expansion content.
That's the thing, right? That depends on how they hire, because it's going to be easier to get artists and designers. So designers probably have a massive amount of art, because that's the thing we always notice, right? You always notice this. We always notice assets that have gone unused. We rarely see, there's a massive amount of spells that haven't been used anywhere. At least not in my memory. It's not like, we've data mined an NPC with a load of spells attached. Is that like a half-working fight? We rarely see that. However, we do see, there's a load of Drust stuff in Shadowlands, like files that was never used. There's a load of assets that haven't ended up there. So it seems like they have that issue of that's more scalable. Art is more scalable and outsourceable and stuff like that, and kind of you can get artists to do stuff handy, whereas designers seems to have a harder job. So I feel like that would be efficient on art, but it's also like I don't think that's their problem fundamentally. At least I think so. That's my kind of read on it from what limited perspective I do have.
I guess, can I tell you one of the times I actually enjoyed playing Shadowlands the most?
Oh no!
And no, see, you were there and you enjoyed it too.
Yeah,
I remember it, and that's rather rude song we talked about earlier was in fact in all of our headphones.
It was Nathria?
Huh?
Nathria, yeah.
It wasn't Nathria. Oh. It was the first few mythic dungeons that we did when we all said to each other, fuck it, we're not grinding heroics, let's go straight in there.
Oh, yeah.
And we were way under geared, which meant that
We had to
the
do
boss
things.
definitely felt harder. We definitely had to do the mechanics.
Yeah.
That felt damn good. It really did. And for a lot of people, I just think, you know, if you just wanted to have a quick little, you know, you come home and you're like, oh no, I'm a modern person. I only have time to snort one line of World of Warcraft. Well, that's where being able in Wrath of the Lich King. I remember times where, you know, I'd come home from school and maybe I'd have to go to the rowing club and I'd have to do my homework. I never really did that. I would start.
We can tell, don't worry.
Yeah, I'm a fucking idiot. I would. It was great. There was one of my teachers. She always went around checking people's homework in a clockwise fashion. So I found, because I was on the opposite side, I could just copy all of one of my mates' bits of homework. I could just copy it all while she was going around. And I'd say she only caught me maybe 5 to 10% of the time. It was a pretty high hit rate. Nice. But anyway, those times, I'd go do Sarth. I'd go do Onyxia whenever I didn't have a lot of time. And that felt really good. And the closest that I can do to that right now is Morgath. Oh, no. And here's the problem with Morgath, or, you know, any of these world bosses in modern world. Look what that just did to Matt. The second he considered a world boss, I actually saw the life force fucking leave his body. Because what are these world bosses? They're, you know, bind your filler thing to your fucking scroll wheel and have a wank with the other hand, get some loot at the end. That's what a world boss is in World of Warcraft, right?
The turnip punching bag, but it dies.
Yeah. Now, see Sarth 2D? That was real shit.
In hindsight, probably also turnip punching bag, but
definitely.
At the time, yeah.
and or even, you know, Vault of Archivon, like that was a loot pinata, but it was a tuned loot pinata where you didn't have 30 trillion people descending upon it and instantly mocking it, right?
I love 5 frames per second in Desmatron. That was very, very good. I love that.
I remember that fight just straight up wouldn't work. So the point there is basically...
You guys get loot from World Boss? I fucking don't.
No, dude.
I have... how many times have I tried in Season 4? Maybe 5 or 6 times I've killed World Bosses, like 4 weeks on Paladin, a couple on Druid. Not a single bit of loot. I'm not kidding. I feel like my account is cursed. And if it was, I wouldn't be surprised.
As our boy Night Stalker said, Archivon's Vault at least had the Earth, Wind, and Fire mode. Yeah.
Yep.
So my point there basically is if you're able to, inspired by these ESO hard modes or even a traditional Ulduar hard mode, if you're able to just turn that into maybe that's just the queuable trial of the week, or, you know, the trial of the week that maybe there's a special portal. You just be like, just call it Khadgar's Torment Nexus. Where Khadgar's like, I am going to train the heroes of Azeroth by, analyzing the data from all of the bosses and making a hard version and making a big portal, and you and your mates go in and me, Daddy Khadgar, I will give you some loot if you're a good boy, right? And then for so many people, instead of just doing a world boss where you feel nothing other than disappointment, you could do one of these where you could play a game and then feel some disappointment you don't get the loot you want. And I think that's an improvement. I just think that this would be the sort of thing that would be really healthy for the game, because you know what? Sometimes we don't feel like pugging because, you know, it's going into a whole thing, and you maybe won't want to pug a normal or a heroic raid, because you feel like there's a 2.5 hour time commitment there, and you know that you could go in, do a few kills, and then leave and hearth out. But you're also like, but it's an MMO, and that does, you know. I know I'm not going to get an ASBO for doing this. And that's an antisocial behavior order. That's what happens if you're a street lout. But, you know, it doesn't feel socially good to ditch people. So the idea of being able to access that format of gameplay in a system like this, I think would be giga. Yeah,
that's the thing where I completely appreciate how they always talk, like, whenever it comes to, like, oh, what about shorter raids? What about those little fucking Crucible of Storms and stuff? And a lot of it is very much, oh, yeah, no, well, we like the big dungeons. We like the big experience of going into a raid with all the people, and, like, you know, basically how that Wrath Journey trailer feels, where there's a whole load of boys running into ICC. You're like, there's the fucking lads about to sort out Big LK. Easy business. But that is becoming more and more. I'll have to temper this because I have a different thing to say after. But that's a little bit more incompatible with how people play the game in a sense, or play games in general, I should say, where there's a lot more of the not exactly 5 minutes on the boss on your phone tier, but definitely shorter session times. And that's a thing where League of Legends intentionally pulled its game length down for a whole bunch of reasons, from like 45, 50 minutes possibly to trying to aim for more like 20, 25 kind of stuff. Those like quick finishes. There's some stuff in there that's like maybe there's some other reasons, but fundamentally games are getting quicker. That's the whole thing about like why short session time roguelikes are so big, because people love getting like get a wee 5 minute, 10 minute, 15 minute game. Yeah, and that works really well. The only argument I'd have against that is potentially the prevalence of battle royales, but even then they're not that long. Yeah. They're not an hour long, they're not 2 hours long, they are in and out 20 minutes, 30 minutes. It's long enough to feel like it because it's dense.
Like difference between say a a round of PUBG, a real fucking sweaty campy round of PUBG, compared to like some of the sort of BRs that would have came after that have a faster gameplay pace.
Yeah, I mean that's a thing where you kind of get the whole raid thing needs to be a little bit more I don't know. I want to say they should maybe split them up more, but then that becomes more of a problem. It's like and this is a thing I really like about
used to FF.
That's the thing I'm starting to really get used to FF with the segmentation of it. And I would be very happy if raids were just really obviously 2 wings, and then people would be like, "Oh, we're going to do this wing, or we're going to do this wing, whatever else." I feel like that would be better for it. And I know you're thinking, okay, well, none of that really kind of matters all that much because you're just framing it differently. But I think the framing is important. Right? I'd very much love to be like, all right, we're going to do the first half of this raid, but people want to do the whole raid in one setting because that's how you do. You think of the raid as, oh, it's the raid. You don't think of the raid as, oh, the raid of the first. Oh yeah, we'll do wing 1, wing 2, wing 3, and they do that for LFR because it's cute. So it's like, why not do that for other things? And then people would have the framework for, hey, we're here for 3 bosses instead of having to go, I'm here for 3 bosses, and then you wait 47 years for people to show up, and then people leave all over the place. Stuff like that. I
can even think about some of my time when, and I haven't actually been to the new FF patch, which I know is pretty embarrassing, but thankfully, Matt has been our fucking man on top of that shit in the gaming channel. But I remember doing Pandemonium, right? And the non-savage.
Yeah, no.
And those were fights.
They're fantastic.
They're fight.
And the next ones are way better too.
And the thing was, it felt like I was playing a raid. I was there in Giga Focus mode. Yeah. Some of that's because things such as looking at the boss's animation for small cues about what the boss is going to do, I'm not used to because I play the UI like a good World of Warcraft player. But I was just having that raid-like experience, and I was back home at Port Stewart. It was over the holidays, right? Mm-hmm. And the roast chicken dinner was on. There was like 45 minutes until the roast chicken dinner, and I was like, all right, going to hit the button, go.
Yeah.
Have a few fucking runs at the dungeon. Or sorry, at the raid boss, and that felt really good. It fit really good. So I don't know for Blizzard, they're I think going to want to very tightly guard the classic WoW raiding experience because I think they truly feel like but we are World of Warcraft. We are the game where these epic shared big moments of achievement happen.
That's a USP.
That is a bit of a USP,
and it works if it works.
But if they have the bandwidth to even smartly reuse some content. I mean, even if you want to take bosses from the previous raid tier, I remember when I was playing Wrath of the Lich King, it was a weekly quest that you do for the equivalent of, I think, of Badges of Valor, where it would just be to go and kill a raid boss from a past tier. And that's what people would do. You'd get into one of those groups, you'd go do it, and it's like, okay, cool, I did a thing. So there's room for that shit.
Yeah.
Now, there is actually a bit of a doot. Breaking news here. I've changed the evoker, the preservation evoker range. So we might have some stuff to add into our dock. They haven't changed it fully.
Yep, that's what I'm going to call Cardis. You spineless bastards. Stick to your bastard design guns. Don't listen to what I was going to say a name. Don't listen.
I know I fucking know. Everyone in chat knows. I mean, you can't say because you see now you have plausible deniability.
Yeah. Don't listen to what people get people together and push opinions of. Don't listen to them. Stick to your guns. Except for anything we talk about.
That's it.
Yeah. No. For me, it's very, very specifically. I think that there's certainly problems of homogenization, right? And there's a whole thing I talked about in a video that'll go live tomorrow or Sunday on the Bellular Gaming channel about FF and how Machinist is the butt of everyone's joke at the minute, and it actually got to a boiling point recently in P8S. But fundamentally, that's the idea of it's this crazy shit of homogenization just makes the game worse overall. And it's like, sure, there are problems with an evoke group in 25 yards. Obviously, there are problems that anyone can say, and everyone who's like bringing up a problem is completely correct. But there is a side effect of just why not actually use that as part of the design space? Why not use that to make it not as like homogenous? What's really the fundamental problem? Is it a usability problem, and does that usability problem make them less fun because because they have a longer range, we have to dial back some of their power now? Or like, oh well, is that some of the skill ceiling you just lost? You know, is there really like a huge amount of stuff kind of going on? They've got loads of mobility. The mobility is designed around that, so now you're kind of going, oh well, fucking make them change the this. And you're like, there's surely a better way to do it that doesn't feel like capitulating to homogenize this, please. It's like, and also I'm going to be a little bit personal here. If they're running about like, oh, we need to be 25 yards is too short. This is really bad. Oh no, please. Why does Rule of Law still exist? Why does Mastery Lightbringer still exist? Melee healers that aren't melee. Did you know that there's vaguely a caster build possible now, but it won't be ever fully there.
Great. I can't wait for the charity boxing match between AirPods and Max and AirPods and Matt.
Yeah,
it's going to be fun.
Yeah, let's say when it comes to how I would train for a celebrity boxing match, that I ever would want to do one, I would definitely take the Sam Hyde approach.
Well, I don't know about the reference that he just made, though I'm pretty sure Sam Hyde is like a comedian that 4chan tries to trick every news station is a shooter.
He also said who did he beat? He beat someone recently in a celebrity boxing match, and then he literally said he was going to go to Hassan's house and kill him afterwards. That's very funny.
Fun.
Yeah. Also, you shouldn't say that about anyone ever. You shouldn't say, I'm going to come to your house and kill you in real life. That's not okay. Well, but it's Sam Hyde.
Speaking of the dumpster fire of Twitch, we'll get to that later. Bredonius is up your alley, my man, because he did say, imagine if WoW did the crossover events like FF14 and Nier. Imagine what... Okay, now you've gone mad saying WoW VR Demon Hunter. That would definitely be vomit-inducing. But I said, to engage with the real question there, could Blizzard do something like that? And here's basically the thing. To what degree are we okay with a bit of kayfabe? Right? A bit of kayfabe's like, the whole, it's WWE, we all pretend it's real. Or, a bit of just that kind of like a shared community headcanon. Because if one day a rift in Dalaran appeared that took me to the Cthulhu sector and just had fucking me and Jimmy doing a raid boss against the big Zerg, so it's kind of old godlike, or fighting as some zealots or something. If they were to do a little thing like that, they'd never do it with StarCraft because who's going to make money there?
What's StarCraft? Yeah.
I don't even know what StarCraft is. I think it's like a niche game over in Korea.
Chris Madsen's Diary.
Oh, I mean, Heroes of the Swarm is kind of Chris's diary.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Heart of the Swarm. Not Heroes of the Swarm.
Oh, Heroes of the... but like the idea, I guess, of that cross promo is kind of interesting. Actually, do you want to know? Fuck me. I don't know if I've got it, but I think I might have it.
Oh, no.
Get your exhibit memes ready. Oh, dear. We are about to cross promote World of Warcraft with World of Warcraft. Now, before I send everyone's brains into a recursive loop that has you literally explode on the spot, this is actually a Hearthstone cross promotion. Because the way you've got like now...
Oh, like they're doing now when they're promoting Shadowlands and Hearthstone now.
I've never read a Marvel comic. or actually any of those comics. But
there are quite a few that are good.
Oh yeah, I know, absolutely, yeah. I know. I mean, this is. I could be wrong, but you know the way they have like the mainline comics or whatever, and then they had the Ultimate comics, and I felt like that was the Ultimate one not like a bit more like bada boom, a bit more Ultimate or some shit like that, right? Hearthstone has this like crazy amped up like Ultimate version of WoW.
Oh, I see what you're getting at. Yeah.
So in the way that you've, and like, I think there's a light N'Zoth in Hearthstone. You know, they could probably take some of the more crazy, wacky, cool ideas that they've played around with in Hearthstone, and I actually think they could, if they wanted to, for like a one-off thing, a bit of content, a bit of cross promo, they could put those into WoW.
Yeah, I guess
certainly. Overwatch and WoW, that would feel really hard to make sense.
Yeah, with Hearthstone, you could do this great thing of, well, that's the thing, right? It would be hard to make sense, but you do it anyway. That's the point. Especially when it's a world of magic and fantasy, you can kind of go, well, we're dimension hopping here for some crazy reason. And like, because that's the thing where, no, I guess, I'm thinking more like the Rising specifically in FF. But there's definitely like the idea of just Khadgar says, holy shit, something crazy is going down. And then just in big brackets, this isn't actually canon, okay? Just so people get the point. And then, you know, Khadgar Medivh show up, like, oh, there's some crazy shit happening. And then you go and, you know, sort, I guess, like, I guess the best version that would be a nice tie-in at the minute would probably be all of the Lich King Hearthstone cards. Or it's like Lich Queen Jaina, as an example. There's a boss.
Yeah.
Off you go. Well, you maybe want to go for like Anduin and like Death Knight Anduin, and that would be like really kind of cool. So they should just completely do all of that all the time. But I think the one thing is, and this is less of a thing, I've seen people talk about it, and they talked about it a long time ago whenever the idea of like crossovers with Nier and stuff are happening, and then recently when it comes to King Thordan, obviously being King Thordan, Lich King, whatever else, just, you know, that's not really a very tight sort of, I guess, similarity, but it works. The idea of, especially with Yoshi P talking about how much he loves World of Warcraft and loves Blizzard, and, you know, Diablo was like the game that got him into online games, stuff like that. The idea of if there were, if we lived in a better world where Blizzard's entire kind of department of working with outside people didn't seem to be have their heads so far up their asses their shoulders are invisible. It's like that's the idea of it. Hey, Mr. Ozma, do you want to design a Lich King fight for FF14? Oh, hey, World of Warcraft, do you want to design a whatever you would pick for that fight and just fire that in? That's the kind of thing I think they should kind of be doing, and then World of Warcraft can work off that and just cross them with their own stuff. Hopefully, like their survival game would have cool stuff that they could pull in, etc., etc.
I mean, with it being an isekai, I feel like there's the option there. So yeah, I think that kind of thing would actually go, to be honest, like pretty damn well. And even as somebody there pointed out in chat, like even that anniversary raid event was cool. It was a shit show because motherfuckers can't do Defile, but the idea was pretty cool, and I'd totally love to see more done with that. So all this madness, World of Warcraft news time.
I'm going to head off for a second.
Because apparently what we've been talking about thus far is not World of Warcraft news. Incredible.
I'll leave you here and be back in a second.
Oh, Matt, you're going to miss out on finding out about the Fated Raid hotfixes.
Oh my god. What? I don't have time to raid. Sorry, I don't care. As long as they're good for the health of the game overall.
Huzzah.
In the future, that is.
Well, okay, right, so here's them trying to make some good shit for, for a more niche, I guess, but, like, still very important segment of the community, which is a nice little accessibility feature for the Hillbrand boss. So they've basically added in a visual aid. So get a load of this. Blind players are reporting difficulties with the bypass codes because they are unable to drop them, and they're unable to complete the mechanic using just/follow. We've implemented this alternative method to give players an opportunity to drop bypass codes so other people can grab them. That basically just means there's an extra action button for depositing or, just like dropping the bypass code, in addition to manually interacting with the security panel. So, that's good. And they're generally being more aware and I think like a bit more caring with these things, which I think is really nice. Like, even the motion sickness, like, motion sickness, potion that they put into Grimrail Depot. So I think stuff like that's pretty cool. They've also went and done some Creation Spark hot fixes. What are these? Okay, so it's just abilities that are no longer notably altered by Creation Spark. So I guess that might mean something to you. I mean, I'm not really doing the Faded Rate, so it doesn't really mean much to me. Moving on to Brewfest then. Well, Brewfest is in fact in town.
I love Brewfest.
Yeah, you know, I remember one time like hey, you know when you're a teenager and just sometimes you feel shitty for a month and that is what it is. I remember that, feeling pretty shitty, log in, fucking Brewfest, go do my Brewfest things, staves the darkness away, thumbs up to Brewfest.
That said, I remember Brewfest, one of the first events I took part in my World of Warcraft time playing, and it was very fun. I had the RAM and stuff, but the sound of I think it's the goblins and stuff laughing outside Thunderbluff is on the music layer because it's part of the music that plays.
Yeah.
It's not a sound effect, which means I don't like turning music off playing Classic, but I had to because the track starts and plays till it ends. So I would be like going past Thunderbluff, walking through Mulgo, or flying over like past the Brewfest people just to get over to to the Barrens. And it's just that extremely, extremely annoying goblin laughing that's way too loud that I can't turn off without also forgetting to turn off the music. It's very annoying. Minor problem, of course, but also it is just why are goblins in the game? Just get rid of them.
Wow.
No one. God, fuck. Oh, I hate them.
Matt's never been known to have an extreme opinion.
No.
Well, the Night Elves got it in BFA. I think we know who, if Matt ever becomes creative director of World of Warcraft, I think we know who he's burning down.
Yeah, it would be.
Love to see it.
Yeah, it would be. Let me say this correctly. I'm trying to think. Every race shorter than pandas would be gone in the first day.
Shorter than pandas.
Yeah.
So humans are gone. Yeah. Night Elves might be gone.
Shorter than female pandas.
They actually have posture.
In their character model?
Yeah.
Are they literally taller?
Yeah.
No, they're not. Are they?
Oh, I remember the
day
where...
Am I remembering?
I see, it's the way that they are proportioned makes them feel smaller. But if you actually get one and stand them beside somebody, it is instant Five Nights at Freddy's bullshit.
See, that's the thing, right?
And it's terrifying.
I sat there going, well, let me think about, see if I can get this right. And then I got it profoundly wrong. Okay, shorter than humans then, I guess.
There we go.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dwarves are cool, but gotta go.
Tough shit, Blood Elves.
Sure, Blood Elves are small humans. They're elves.
Yeah, but they're diminished and small compared to Night Elves. Night Elves are taller, more muscular, more shredded.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, that's it.
That's fine.
You know, Blood Elves, what are they? They're fucking Californian mean girls.
Exactly.
I think that's what they were designed after.
Exactly. There you go.
So, Brewfest, you can go do it. I think it's fun. And it does make me think, and don't worry, Matt, I'm not going to turn this into another bonus segment on you, but if Blizzard was to go and, like, you know, patch by patch, I don't mean fully rebuild, but, like, put way more shit and a genuine big effort into these world events, I think that would be a really good idea. Especially they can make some of those world event things apply to like current expansion and do that in a way that is kind of like more scalable, because that I think would give more people more reasons to log in on an ongoing, decently evergreen basis. And now that I'm just gonna off my sandbox, it is the Solo Shuffle Showdown PvP event. So if you're into PvP, then hey, you can do that. It's got this whole big, you know, tournament format of people doing solo shuffles with each other. And here's all the different players. And
sorry, I just is it just me that are doing solo shuffles with each other? Is that a weird euphemism?
Maybe it is. It is whatever you want it to be. But whatever it is, it will be shoutcasted by AF, Super T's, Ven Rookie, and Zico.
Nice.
So there you go. That's what's going to be going on over there. And with the retail this week, I wonder at what point people realize that, hang on a second, Classic is retail as well. I try to say modern and classic, but I guess retail
Yeah.
stock, because obviously the private server DNA. Now then, another little thing. So the Visage Day Folk and Fairy Tales short is now available for free on Blizzard's website.
Oh, that's so funny to me.
It's hilarious.
Like, oh shit, sorry, this is in a book, and we were, oh fuck, sorry. This is like a whole thing we're doing with dragons and their identities, and kind of part of the story we're trying to tell on Dragonflight, and adding a load of character to them. Where did we start this process? Shit in the book. Quick, publish it, quick, send it up.
Yeah.
It is funny, but as funny as it is, they did actually publish it.
Yeah,
they did. They didn't just publish. Hey, if you're getting ready for Dragonflight, you might want to check out this piece of writing that goes into the history of Dragon's Visage Day and how important it is to them.
Yeah.
And then drop an Amazon link.
And instead of dropping an Amazon, wow, instead of dropping an Amazon link, they're giving you a PDF, which in fairness is probably the first autofill search term for that book anyway, because that's how Googling a book works in the modern day.
Yeah, file tab : PDF.
Yeah.
Or if you know what you're doing, you know the sites to go to.
Yeah. Of course, Matt only says this because he is a privateer working for the crown, taking down pirates. Yeah. That's why he knows their ways, because he's a good boy TM.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Now then, time for the beta. Where, actually...
Would you put on screen the whole time? Oh, sorry.
Time for the beta. You're looking at... Fucking hell.
Sorry, we're a little bit vicious today, you may have noticed.
That's it, yeah.
Yep.
Bad.
Wake up, choose events.
It's very bizarre. I've had 4.5 hours sleep, and it's like, I feel a little bit tired, but I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe they've just been putting substances into my drinking water. That's also possible. But we have the Dragonflight splash screen.
It's beautiful.
Beautiful.
Work of art.
Yeah.
It looks like Lost.
Now, could this be going on?
I sure hope so.
Good meme here from Dratnos.
Inspiration's okay.
So, all of the Season 1 Mythic Plus affixes were added to the game. Necrotic and Inspiring are not there. Seems like they've been goddamn cut.
And one of them replaced at least there with the... Oh, sorry, no, man, that's Season 1 affix.
Yeah. So,
yeah, that makes sense.
Basically, they've taken unpopular shit and removed it. And I do remember at some point some interview sort of saying like, yeah, we might tone down just like the regular affixes and kind of focus more on the seasonal stuff.
Well, that's what they've been doing design-wise in terms of tweaking the existing ones. They've been kind of going, oh yeah, well this used to be just a straight-up fingering. It's gone now. Or it's easy.
They are baby mode in many cases compared to Shadowlands launch.
Yeah.
Which is already in Season 4.
Yeah, which is weird because it is like... I have to give it to them. As much as I hated affixes, or as I hate most affixes, there are some that I actually quite enjoy. Like, I enjoy working with Grievous and stuff like that whenever I'm healing. I actually think those are meaningfully different enough to the texture of how you play. But some of them are just kind of brutal, like Storming sucked. But the thing about it is they were at least damage that came from additional layers of design. And this is something that specifically about how I like to play games. I really do not like it's the same but slightly harder numerically. Because that doesn't actually really matter all that much. I'm there for novelty, and to me, novelty comes across as here's design, here's something else to do, here's something else to think about, here's maybe something happens twice as fast. It's not just, oh, this, but if your gear, because fundamentally speaking, it is about gear, right? Mm-hmm. Once you, and I'm not going to say I play perfectly, I play fucking terribly, I'm horrible at this video game. I used to be vaguely okay once, and then I stopped, I fell out of practice, and now I'm shit. But once you get to the point of playing near perfectly, then after that, it's just numbers. And I don't think that's very enjoyable compared to the affixes where there's probably room for affixes implemented in a more interesting way overall that end up being, hey, here's more design, here's more difficult design. But they do get a decent bit of that out of the seasonal affixes. So I'll say there's maybe a thing where I'm maybe super... In the long view, not super happy with this. In the short view, happy because I don't really like playing around someone. Like Storming when meta used to be an absolute bastard. And now it's tolerable enough because it disappears. And the seasonal affixes actually... Like, I really enjoy the Season 4 affixes because it's like... Yeah. But this is the difference, right? The reason I actually really like the affixes or the season 4 affix, is because it's actually changing the mob in the dungeon. It is, that is a new mob with new mechanics that I have to mess with. That feels substantially different to me than like any of the other affixes that I played with that were seasonal.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so I'm going through the usual motions of the dungeon, but with changes. Because I kind of like the 8.3 of, being able to, oh shit, everyone's using Shroud, fuck it, Shroud's an affix now. I kind of like that idea, but it was like, you're playing the dungeon a different way, which is cool, but you're also doing sneaky, stealthy stuff, which I'm not a huge fan of routing. I like to just go, there's the enemies, kill them.
Kill shit, simple as.
Yeah, kill shit, but the shit's doing stuff that you have to actually manage and deal with. I like that part of it. So I very much enjoyed hey, there's a new type of mob. So I'd love to see a little bit more of that of, hey, here's a new mob that makes this dungeon literally different than it was when you played it last time. Also, that's not going to be a problem because they're rotating every season now, so that as well.
Here's the big one, man.
Yeah.
Obviously, Tyrannical and Fortified are still there.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, we may be different to a lot of other Mythic Plus players because a lot of the people who are, they have their fucking, Gunnar glasses on, drinking their esports nutrition fuel, fucking baseball cap backwards, esports jersey, doing Mythic Plus 87s, right? Yeah. The fucking serious Zoomers. One of the things that they have a problem with, understandably because it impacts their playstyle, is how Tyrannical can just get to the point where it's, Lamau, you're fucked. Mm-hmm. You can't do this. You need to start being cheesy and weird. Now, for players like you and me, we generally, I think, prefer Tyrannical because the boss is, like, really fun. Mm-hmm. And I guess, historically, playing raids more, that's, like, the thing that you and me were into. And it was just interesting looking at chat when we talked about the idea of these two affixes being removed. People were like, yeah, Tyrannical and Fortified's still there. Yep. So, I wonder what it's like because Tyrannical and Fortified contributing differently to, contributing to half your rating each, that obviously makes sense because the dungeon does feel pretty damn different in those two different modes.
And it would be metagamed otherwise.
Yeah. But then the issue is that to a lot of people, it's like, I prefer this one. I prefer that one. So it's interesting.
Yeah, it's the awkward thing where this is a whole...
I feel like they're probably... They kind of like still have to keep it, I think.
Yeah, this is like... there's a whole thing because I don't know very much about hierarchies outside of Tyrannical skills worse than hierarchies and Fortified because, bigger boss stuff, more untargetable things that will just kill you and less ways to manage where you can manage mobs. You can't manage bosses by design. You can't just, just chain stun a boss or something like that or, take them by themselves. But it's that thing where... Obviously, there's like tank damage when that gets to a point it kind of explodes too. But it's this weird thing where the increase in health is... I don't want to say it's lazy, right? Because... And this is a whole thing about what is a boss, what is a design. And this is something I learned to think about through playing many hundreds of hours of Dark Souls at different levels of health and different levels of defense. Where it's like, it's about the amount of mistakes you're allowed. And a health bar is basically how long do you have to survive for without making mistakes. Even like the shmup territory, it's like if you're playing one of the Toho games and you say a boss had half the health, you would make less mistakes because the point is you're dealing with stuff consistently. Even the same in kind of FF where it's like, well, not really because they have the enrage, so it's like a scripted fight the whole way through. But it's that idea of if you add a substantial amount of health, then that just makes the fight longer for no real reason. And you're also kind of bumping up the damage at the same time, of course, but not to the same degree in the sense of you're now giving people more room for mistakes because the fight is longer and you're making the mistakes more punishing. But I think it would be a generally better sense of design if with the gear scaling, it took the same amount of time, but it was substantially more punishing. I think that's kind of it. Or there were more mechanics in the same amount of time. Because you end up getting into the rhythm of, once you know how to do a boss, you know how to do that boss. It's just about can you, and this is where it comes into the problem in hierarchies, where it becomes, now it's impossible to do it normally. Okay, well now you have to work in weird things. You have to work in things like invulnerabilities. You have to work in, crazy amounts of stacking, damage mitigation, and all those kind of weird strats to deal with the numbers getting too out of control. And I feel like that's not designed or less designed than the ideal of this gets harder. You know, it's the difference between going from heroic to mythic, and then there's no mythic, nothing above mythic outside of numbers bigger and affixes, which don't change the actual core design. So that's fundamentally it. Where it's like a tyrannical kind of. It feels like the experience of it is as a result of the idea, as opposed to a design one, and it just gets out of control. Of, I'd rather them stop blasting health up so much. It needs to go up because with gear you kill them faster, and that obviously means there's room for there's less chances to make a mistake, is how I put it. But I think it would be handier if they cut the health down way like low, and then just bump the damage up so it's more punishing and a little bit faster. That's what I would personally prefer, but I know that goes wrong in high keys because one of the limiters on how far you can push is the incoming damage. Because it's not like, oh well, you could technically fight mobs forever, but if your healer has to pump the whole time and they're out of mana, too bad. Or you don't have the cooldowns to deal with the damage coming in because white damage is wrecking you now. And that's a whole thing of, I could talk for 40, 100 million years about how Mythic Plus and like design for this stuff is getting really weird, and RPGification of gear is like, this is really brittle. That's why I'm afraid of. I talk about this in the upcoming FF video, where it's like homogenization is really dangerous there, because you think, well, what would be a perfect experience and perfect balance? It would be everyone has one button to press, and that button does 1 damage point all the time, and every second you take 10 damage points. So it's that kind of like really super simplified version. But no, I think about Mythic Plus a lot more than I actually play it, more or less. I think that's what I've proven here today.
We still need to get KSM.
Yeah.
We've been busy and distracted. Now there is another thing. Potentially the new dungeons, or at least the dungeons that have been like prepped and made ready for Mythic Plus, have actually seemingly been data mined. So
good news for everyone who likes fun.
It's pretty damn good news for both of us. I'm gonna hand it over to you. Be back in a minute.
That's me.
But
Give me one
overall for me, it was a pretty chunky thumb up, I gotta say.
Yeah, so this is a weird part where it's not necessarily going to be definitely this, right? But they are just kind of doing the groundwork to make sure it actually works. So I've got, obviously there's Algathar Academy, which is, new for Dragonflight. But there's Auchindoun, Bloodmaw Slag Mines, there's Gate of the Setting Sun, Halls of Fusion's also there. Mogasham Palace, Natharis and Ruby Life Builds also there. Scarlet Halls, Scarlet Monastery, very nice. Scholomance, I think Scholomance is great. Scholomance M+, if they go ahead with that, will be absolutely wonderful. Just because people will have to learn what to do in the Necromancer room with the Bone Guy, because I think that's a really fun fight, but no one knows like what to do with it. At least I've noticed in like leveling, because you can kind of skip it; it doesn't really matter. But people have to learn that fight. I think it was pretty cool. Jan Disparov. Yeah, exactly. That said, no, it won't matter because now I'm thinking of the achievement. Never mind. I was about to say there'll be like a week or to get it sorted out or something like that. There'll be a week or to get it sorted out, and that'll be it. Because I remember doing the achievement, and what you did was you had a 3D model like floating on your screen with an add-on, and then you compare that to the ones you looked, and that's how to get the achievement. But to continue anyway, Scholomance will be great. Scarlet Monster I think will be great. I might need adjustments. Your monk fella does a lot of damage very, very quickly, and they're not extremely well designed. But then you've got the was it? I don't think it was Target Jandis. That'd be too easy. At least I don't remember it being that easy, unless I was stupid at the time. But then we also have Shadowpan Monastery. That'll be interesting because they know everyone knows the skips. I wonder if they'll move any mobs so people don't have to do that. But that would Shadowpan was a fun dungeon too. Let's see. SBG, Shadow Moon Burial Grounds is fantastic. People very much have issues with Shadow Moon Burial Grounds, and no, it's good. It's good, and if you disagree, get better taste. Oh.
That was not smooth.
Anyway, moving on.
Fucked it.
Yeah, moving on. Shadow Maragon's good, whatever.
Yes.
We also have Siege of Nuzar Temple, which will be
Knife boss.
Yeah.
Fucking dodging the knives boss.
Nuzar Temple will be interesting, I think. Skyreach. Wow.
Yes! Fucking give it to me now!
Yeah.
So,
If anyone-
I love Skyreach. All you goddamn weak-ass motherfuckers in the chat going like, oh no, Skyreach! We'll get killed!
Exactly.
Yeah, you'll get killed and you'll like it.
Yeah.
I really like Skyreach. I think it's really pretty. I think the bird people are cool. And I thought the bosses were cool.
Everything about Skyreach is good, except for I think the potential scaling for how brutal the mech boss will be with the sunbeams that people soak. There'll maybe be some fun with that. But the WoD dungeons being designed before the era of Mythic Plus is really obvious, and I think that'll make them kind of interesting and also really fun because I love the WoD ones. I love the other ones as well too. But then we've got Storm Stout, which is I'll be okay. Jade Serpent.
Harder plays, indeed.
Jade Serpent will be quick, right? Jade Serpent should be pretty quick. I'm trying to think, is there anything really interesting there? I don't know if there's anything super interesting about Jade Serpent outside of it'll be fun watching people not respect mechanics. That's most of it for MoP and WoD dungeons to me. There are mechanics that were designed and no one's respected them in years outside of like challenge mode players.
I think Jade. What I'll say with Jade is
Good then perish.
it's just like a real good slice of a dungeon. Like it's not doing anything insane, but it has a fairly appropriate feeling length and good pacing.
Yeah.
You know, the trash between any boss doesn't feel inordinate, and by the time you kill the third one, and then you go into the building to kill the final boss, that's just like, bam, 2 bosses. I think it's a really well-paced dungeon.
Yeah, and then Everbloom. That is going to be a wonderful experience because Everbloom is. I hated it for a while, but I think that was only because I was grinding it for a bit of gear and Mythic and never got it. But I think that dungeon will be really, really fun.
Final boss.
I think it'll be fantastic. The final boss is so hard, like, for a group of players that don't respect it. Obviously, all you do is like, well, there's a wind rush, there's a stampeding roar. Solved. Easy. There's a rogue with sprint there. You're absolutely solved. Not really a big problem. I think that is like... I think it'll be fun as hell. Especially the big tree boss. The big tree boss is generally... That will be hard on Chronicle. People will basically feel that because they haven't respected mechanics in months. Or months? Jesus Christ. Warlords has been out for a little bit longer than months. Years. I think that'll be really, really fun. And then the last one that's not new is UBRS. Ubers. And I think that'll be also quite fun. The last boss might be a bit rough because that's kind of heavy positioning based. And that's the one that feels like a... Oh yeah, the mage is Neverbloom as well. That's right. Hello, do you have kick on your bar? Do you know how to use it? Sweet. Sorted. You have Prot Pala who's going to bubble and kill the last 10% of the boss. Good. Yeah, and UBRS will be very, very fun as well. Just because of... What are they called? Just because of that platform boss at the end. That'll be fun, I think. It's been a while since I've done a couple of these. But no, like that's the thing where these are the ones that, for full context, they've had the set keystone map spell added to them, which is what they use to basically change keystone to a specific dungeon. They do it on the, and I guess in testing, but also in the tournament realms. So this all should basically be those. Should basically be those that are available or being prepped for being rolled into something or the other. And considering they're not going to do time walking for these, maybe no, because I remember they said something about time walking, but it was like Legion time walk is not going to be going forward. So M plus time walking probably won't exist because they want the seasonal rolls to continue. So this will be us for the next for the expansion. Those will be our dungeons and they'll be good. I haven't done most of the Dragonflight ones, but the ones I've done have been mixed. Kind of mixed. But maybe they'll be better when I do them again. Or do them soon. Yeah. I'm surprised you even remember which bosses and WoD dungeons do. It's... right, so...
How many Apexis crystals?
4986.
There we go.
4,986 Apexis crystals. I used to remember all the other numbers from other expansions, but they're gone as well. How do I describe this? You know whenever there's loads of space in your brain, you wish you could put something useful into it? but instead it's full of World of Warcraft knowledge. That's me.
Yeah.
That's fun. Why we have another person called Matt in our Discord who's the same, but for FF. All of the esoteric knowledge from years ago there. But yeah, no, I remember a lot of those, especially WoD, because Legion was the time I played every class and basically every spec because there was so much content for them. But in WoD, it was very much like I played a lot of alts in WoD, and I did a lot of dungeons on Mythic.
Needed to do something.
I did a lot of them, and then MoP. I like doing MoP for leveling, so all those dungeons are there too.
Yeah.
WoD was good. WoD was a great expansion in terms of content, just not in terms of an overall expansion.
That's it. Good shit. Good shit's going on.
Yeah,
I like
that's
it when that
good.
happens. Now, some continued good shit won't matter to playing the game, unless it, of course, makes the game better. And that is that one of the most important aspects, or periods of testing, is now beginning. So, don't drink a carbonated drink in a stream. The Valdrakken endgame server has been updated with some PvP and profession vendors, so you can now make a level 70 character, you can get it geared, you can start diving into the professions. This is really good. This is them setting up for PvP, Mythic Plus, and raid testing. And frankly, those are like some of the last things they need to test before they can launch the expansion, really. It's kind of crazy to think, but this expansion has, I think because it hasn't made any crazy bets like Torghast or any, oh dear, we've kind of reached too far with the Maw, right? Because it's not making those big, more risky bets, which does mean fewer back-of-the-box features, and that is unfortunate. But what they are perhaps buying with that is making the foundations of the game good again, making plenty of content, for the open world, the reps, that sort of thing, and just like executing on a uncontroversially good bit of WoW content. It doesn't need to be an uncontroversially brilliant bit of WoW content. We just need to not have loads of resistance when we're playing WoW. And I mean, thankfully, most of us can report from the beta, the game is not fighting with you the way that it has been for the last two expansions. So basically here, we are seeing the beginning of one of the, most important and also later and, final phases of testing. There's not too much else to say.
Yeah, so I talked about this a while ago. I think there is the only bet that they've made that they really have to... Okay, well, dragon riding is one bet. That's a bet. We'll see how it goes. I'm fairly confident in that bet, and that's more generic kind of gameplay. The only major bet in terms of what people are worried about at the minute is going to be the talent trees.
Yeah.
But we will talk a little bit about those later because I think that bet has, despite all of my initial cynicism at the first waves back in like June, July, August. Let me try to remember the quote. They said something in the balance road feedback that was something along the lines of, since, during Dragonflight development, our like design philosophy and talent trees have changed substantially.
Wow.
You can very much tell because they are hell of a lot better than they were for the longest time. And they're basically all getting reworked, which we will speak about very shortly.
Hey, yeah, it's definitely made me think, like, we need to work out how we're going to do class content.
That will be difficult.
I mean, we did class content for Shadowlands. We should be able to do it for Dragonflight.
Yeah.
And maybe not, in depth for every class, but, the roundups, the picking a main, the stuff talking about the real big changes.
Yeah.
Because it does seem like there's more of that is relevant to talk about than we initially thought.
Yep.
It's somewhat, for a few classes, like it is somewhat beyond just codifying Shadowlands.
That's one of the other things they mentioned. They mentioned that specifically for balance, and I remember, did I talk about this last week? I think I did. But the wild mushroom being data mined a week ago or so, and going, hang on a second. The designers of a class in World of Warcraft during the beta very notably saw this problem with how the actual gameplay of AoE for a spec felt, going, multi-dot, one of your buttons multi-dots for you, and then Starfall, I guess? And then just, do whatever your filler. And they went, okay, well, what have we got in the tank? Wild Mushroom's pretty cool. Can bring that back? Yeah. Should we change it to make more sense for today's game and how, make it feel a little better? Wait. Hell yeah. I'm like, wait, you, identify class problem, solve class problem within 2 weeks. 2 weeks? I'm used to 2 years. This is genuinely like completely unprecedented how quickly they're going. Yeah. And one of the other things, like they talked about that specifically, and a couple other talents have added, which all seem pretty good. Going, yeah, a lot of the feedback was this feels like Shadowlands, Bumpkin, instead of being new and exciting for Dragonflight. So we've made it new and exciting by adding these talents that change your gameplay. Or like, Twilight Zone, where are we? Is this the Upside Down? What in the good God's earth is going on?
Yeah.
Why are developers at Blizzard Entertainment able to identify problems and solve them on a reasonable time horizon during a beta, getting dangerously, in some cases, close to when it should release?
Because
I'm like, holy shit.
Mike Ybarra threw souls into the demon portal at the heart of the company so they have fuel again.
That's like the only fear is it turns out they've just been abusing them for like 120 hours a week. As long as there's no report that happened, then hell yeah, because whatever they're doing is actually literally working.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see if it lasts. Yeah, you're right. We'll see if it lasts. That's a thing where this is a very, very big problem that we're going to kind of realize, where now especially they're speeding up towards the end of September, when we know pre-patch was leaked to supposed to be in October, and then Dragonflight in November, which means theoretically, because you don't change, what do you call it? It's so much harder to change something once the game's out, because you've got, like, theoretically it's like, no, it's just easy, it's the same process, but you've got all these problems such as players have hands on a product that they paid for, and that's a big one. They're playing a product that they paid for, now means you have a responsibility to them to not change that without good reason or without something, because if they start to complain, then you suddenly have a problem. You could have a $70 problem on your hands, more or less, as opposed to now where it's kind of more abstract, make the game good, which is a completely different level of problem. And then there's also the things such as balance, where it's like, and this is something that Yoshi P talked about, where they balance content around jobs, and this was fairly controversial. They balance content around jobs because if they see machinist not doing well in P8 Savage, and it's being excluded from party finders because it's too weak to actually pass the DPS check, then they go, okay, well that means that we take the boss health down because we can't change machinist, because if we change machinist, then machinist is different in all content. So once they've got like all of the classes locked in terms of their talents, in terms of the damage output, then they will lock all of the raid tests. That's why raid testing hasn't happened yet, I'm sure. Maybe because the raids aren't completely ready yet for testing, but classes are still in the works. So you don't want to fill your like testing with bad data. So you wait for the class to be finished, and then you start raid testing, and then you've got raid testing done, and then that's how you balance all the numbers. So this is this awful idea of like, oh, once it hits pre-patch, you can't make any big sweeping design changes after that because people have been sold on your game and whatever else. That's live, that's out in the world. And then once the expansion launches, and then especially once the raid launches, then that's going to be full on. We cannot make any major changes.
Yeah.
It has to be full emergency level for us to make any changes, even like balance changes. So I wish they would be quicker with that, and they should be quicker with that because they do let stuff languish really bad. Well, but it's like that's not an excuse, but that is a reason why we're seeing rapid changes now that are like, oh, feedback identified, solved. And then as soon as the expansion launches, will be, inevitably, because there's 38 specs in the game, it will be, let's use an old favorite, Shaman is broken. No one can play DPS Shaman because it does 20% less damage.
Well, that's what normal mode week is for.
Heroic mode week. And then they're like, say it happens in Heroic or in Mythic and World First, like, sorry, that was unexpected. We can't fix it. We have to wait till 10.1 to fix that. Sorry. And it might go to 10.2 because they have to redesign the spec or something. That's the awkward part where that kind of just, it's the reality of the situation, right? A lot of the time. At least that's how I think it's happened that way. Yeah. More or less.
Going through some other bits of news which are pretty material in their impact. Well, the first thing is we've got the racial mounts for the Drakthir. They're called Vorquin. They almost look like a primalist, what are they called?
Horse.
I know, like the Celtic one. My brain's broke. It's not a unicorn. It's like a Kelpie.
Kelpie, yeah.
Kind of look like a primaless Kelpie or something.
I'm a weeb. I'm just thinking Kieran.
And there's their armored versions, which also look pretty sweet. So there's that. Now, the other thing. The Creation Catalyst has had a facelift, and this is something impactful because... so if you go to the Benthic gear upgrade vendor in Nazjatar of patch 8.2 with a piece of patch, 9.2, Shadowlands Mythic Plus gear, you'll be able to upgrade it because that shit ain't vendor specific. That's just the upgrade UI. If you put PvP gear in there, it'll upgrade that. If you put Mythic Plus gear in, it'll upgrade that. It's just like that with the Creation Catalyst. So them retheming this to Dragonflight very much directly shows us that they are taking that same UI that we already know from the game, and they are just going to make that work in the future. And you can hopefully rest assured, because they did comment on the Catalyst saying that... they think that it was implemented too late.
Hell yeah.
So basically that just means it'll be carried forward, which you already knew, but it's nice to see the evidence, and we can expect it to be activated from an earlier date. The next thing beyond that then is UI. So here's an animation that we can...
these are so gorgeous.
Thanks.
Let that replay the Notion embedded video player.
Yeah, so... Boom. It plays like this nice animation.
Nice
you can
PX.
see another effect here where there's like a sort of glimmer on unlocked talents that you can path to. So that all looks good. Let's just take a look at one or two.
Yeah, they're all the same
splash
idea of
effects.
the sigil and the color, but it's like they all work pretty nicely with the background art. It is a wee bit like it doesn't really matter, but it's nice UX. And I still think that, and this is kind of a weird opinion, I think, mostly because I like looking at the talent trees and like running about and stuff and changing, but the fact that there's not a half-screen version where you flick between the class and spec tree individually, I'm like, I don't really like the full screen thing. Even though it works with like the art, like it feels a bit wrong compared to the old talent tree. I hate to go back to back in classic it was better, but like the old talent trees, if it's just two, like here's class, here's spec tree, that would be less satisfying for them artistically. And it would make it hard to look at the whole talent tree, which is fairly important. But I'm sure they could find a middle ground or something.
Yeah.
Again, I'm nitpicking. But yeah, it feels... UI is definitely getting a glow up in like the stuff they're physically capable of doing, which is the important part. It's capability with UI stuff. Whereas usually it's like, sorry, we could do fucking nothing.
Yeah, so the next thing then is here's the new target thing.
Believe it or not, it looks like the player one.
Yeah,
but flipped. Holy shit!
Who'd have thought that?
That's actually a good point. I would love the ability to flip this because I very weird. I liked it.
Balls in the center, bars outside.
No. I want to play with asymmetry in UI, which is to say everyone goes, oh, well, target or player frame, target frame, or for viewers it'd be player frame, target frame, and like, can I have player frame, target frame, and then everything here? Just a thought, because I like the ability to play around with that. And I could do that with LVUI or something, but I'm nitpicking on this UI, so is what it is.
Yeah, there we go. Is what it is. Anyway, the thing is, these guys, the rare mob is just like a little skull, but then a rare elite gets the dragon.
Yeah, I don't like that, but I don't like it for the different reason other people don't like it. Other people don't like it because it's the silver dragon's gone. That was a nice thing. But it implied rare and elite were mutually exclusive, which was a problem. So I think they could have maybe done something nicer, like put like a silver section like the left of the circle or something like that, and then have the gold overlay or something. Maybe that's subtle. It's fine as it is. Though I did see people like actually get like, to be fair, it's online, so it was like online angry, but people were like actually angry, like, give me the silver dragon back. You've ruined World of Warcraft, you bastards. And like, you know what? It was nice, but yeah. There's probably a better way. But it's fine.
Next thing then, we have currency tracking for more than like 2 or 3.
Hey, features.
So that's really good.
Features.
Yep, that's pretty sweet. We've got the appearances now having more than just raid and PvP sets.
Wait, I can uninstall Better Wardrobe and Transmog. Let's go.
Bingo.
That's another add-on dead. You're getting close. All you have to do is replace weak ores and DBM. That's all. Easy.
Easy. Yeah, I'm sure Jeff can crack that out in an afternoon.
Just here's the thing, right? If you want to see recourse, it's just there on GitHub. Just copy paste. Copy paste and say nothing.
All add-ons are open source.
Yeah. By design, well, by necessities. That's
Yeah,
by
in the add-on policy. So
yeah, that's been
just be
exceeding.
like,
Yeah,
sorry, mate, I've mogged your whole add-on. There's a beer in the post.
yeah, that's been actually really helpful.
Say thanks to your patrons for me.
Jesus. Yeah, no, that's been pretty. Don't replace DBM, make it unnecessary. Yes, you're completely correct.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? It was about yes, add-ons being just. The files there has been really helpful because of the amount of times I use something old and it breaks. I'm like, okay, I can just go and fix it.
Well,
I was
we've
like,
got
that's really handy.
big question from Lola Dean here.
Oh dear.
So let's just finish off the UI. So the dragon riding UI now is more dragony themed instead of being some reworked Torghast stuff.
Yeah,
I like it. I'm happy with it.
so it's nice visually and I like it, but the usability of it's a bit awkward just from the sense that, and this is really nitpicky.
We need a drinking game.
Well, every time I nitpick,
Every time
drink,
Matt has a nitpick, you take a shot.
that would be pretty brutal. But this is this.
We'll kill our audience and no one will be left to watch.
This is what I call a bit of usability feedback. It is not always apparently clear with the resolution that they're at that your vigor bar that you're actually filling it a little bit, and it's kind of hard to tell the exact moment when it's close because with those balls, the actual resolution of especially because the way an orb works, right? There's least information at the bottom and the top. So the closer you get to the top, the less you can actually see how close you are to the top. And obviously, it fills up and goes bing, whatever else, so you see it. But it is not necessarily the best, even though it does look fairly nice. So, I'm not going to say this is the worst thing they've ever done or whoever did this should be taken out the back. I'm just saying that is a little bit of feedback where I know how I'd frame it, right? I'll frame it this way. If I'm using a UI add-on that gives me that in more visible form, I'm likely to use it, even though I don't want to.
Damn.
That's how I put it.
Damn.
Yeah.
There you go. That game. New login screen is here in the PTR.
Where's the dragons?
Where's the dragon? Absolutely. I think it's a really nice login screen, but
pretty.
I want an animated dragon that roars so loud that if the game is being played on speakers, that your family knows that you fat fingered your password.
Yeah.
Because now the login dragon is here and that is your punishment. So with that, I want to hop over to this question here from Lola Dean, who supered us $5 and said, this is the big question, is Dragonflight shaping up to be worthy of giving WoW a second chance from someone who had a very poor and confusing experience in Shadowlands? What I will say...
Poor and confusing depends on the resolution of that, but yes.
If those were the problems, my gut reaction is yes, but don't pre-order.
Yeah.
And the reason why it is yes is because there's no Covenant-like decision that then cascades into other systems and things.
Yeah, the story
right?
not working.
There's none of that. There's no... The story is split up into 4 Covenants, so make 4 characters to get the story, and then take it out the back like a puzzle piece and just, brew yourself some tea and just sit there and puzzle the story together. Because that's my job. That's what me and Jared do for a living. So narratively, that confusion should not be there. The sort of, what do I do with my character bit will not be there. Professions are certainly more in-depth.
Oh, they're so much better.
But, I think they're better. So I would say that, if for you the problem with Shadowlands was you logged in and it was full of goop to trudge through that you didn't really understand and a plot that you found to be fragmented and weird. I can't say 100% about the plot yet, of course. We haven't seen the cinematics. We don't really know where things are going to be going post-game. But at least from what I have played and from looking at the systems of the expansion from my perspective, I do think, yes, Dragonflight is worthy of giving a chance if those were your issues with Shadowlands, because Blizzard are working to greatly clarify those issues. As an example, if somebody was like, legendaries, what are they? Where do I get them from? How does this work? Where do I get the quest from? Okay, I've got to look up a website. Oh no, now I need to look up a guide. Literally doesn't exist anymore. Just pick your talents. From, so many different things. It's easier. I mean, it's just less. I don't even call it cognitive load because it was never interesting decisions. It was just problem-solving goop that got in the way with feeling like you were ready to play. So my opinion is yes.
Yeah, so that's basically how everything. It's hard to say anything else in terms of like the actual front of the game overall. I think the professions, I will add a little bit of flavor there just because my time spent skinning in beta has actually been super fun. It's been a little bit annoying. So I'm like, where do I get these? And I have to go and kill things that I will find. I'm sure, whatever guides will be there after lunch. But on the stories standpoint, I've been thinking let's speak slowly. I've been thinking about this a hell of a lot. And it's more or less, there's a lot less scattered. They have clearly actual ideas. They clearly have, I'm not going to call them good ideas because I haven't seen how they resolve yet. But they have ideas. Zones have stories that begin and end to a degree, while there is a greater plot thread running that they kind of hint at and tease at a little bit. So there's very much stuff of... there's very much massive improvements in the execution of story. And pretty...
Yes, you just heard Matt say that.
Pretty profound improvements in the orchestration and ordering of story. At least as far as I played through a couple of the zones. But, and this is an analogy that I was going to... this is not a good analogy because there are massive gaping flaws, but I'm going to use it because I couldn't think of a better one. But it's like... it's like congratulating maybe a 19 or 20-year-old on learning how to read, right? It's a thing of, it's a bad analogy because if someone doesn't know how to read, that's probably not their fault, right? Definitely not their fault. Mm-hmm. But the part of it that I think is accurate is the idea of that's good. That's a great improvement. That is fantastic. That is excellent for you. However, you definitely should have been doing this a hell of a long time ago.
Fair.
That's the thing on the outcome of it. Obviously, the other, it's a bad analogy for the reasons I provided. But that's the idea of it's very fundamental story stuff they're getting right. And I can't help but feel like they should never have gotten them wrong. Mm-hmm. On the fundaments, on the, hey, this is here's a thing, and then later on they use that thing in the story, as opposed to shit just kind of showing up out of nowhere. The example I have is the Asera part in Legion, where she shows up and just gets got. For there's no setup for that being Xavius' plan whatsoever. It just was. Mm. That was never even vaguely mentioned, just happened. You're like,
it was
what
very and then react.
Yeah, and you're like, what happened? What? Why did that? I don't know. And then you get, it overwhelms you emotionally because she gets got, and you're like, what the fuck? But they do something, I don't want to say similar, but the idea of, hey, here's a thing that's happening, and it's supposed to be a fairly emotional moment. Oh, that's happening. That succeeds when it does happen, and it's not anything as major as that. Mm-hmm. It's I feel I like these people and things have gone wrong for them, whatever else. But they actually set things up. And in a way that's fairly obvious, but they also don't kind of wink, wink, nudge, nudge. They'll just offhand mention something, and then that'll be used later. And you go, oh, that's how a story's written. I don't remember very much of that in World of Warcraft largely before. Because it's mostly anything, unless it's very specific, like the Divine Bell and Miss Bedaria and stuff like that.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah, but stuff like that is actually full on. Oh, that's actually, you're doing a story well enough. You've got characters who you're speaking to, and then they progress in ways that are their character evolves and learns pretty quickly in small enough ways because it's still tied into, still I guess bound by what or how World of Warcraft presents its content. You've got things like ideas that the world of people that aren't just the main cast are actually evolving, like the Artisans Consortium and kind of stuff for them, the Pathfinders, all those little ideas. You're like, oh, hang on. You're doing a story. And you're doing world building. You're doing world building of the old world. You're doing world building of the new world of the Dragonlance. And you're also doing story. You're doing this all at the same time.
Yeah.
And there's points where I'm like, whoa, oh, that felt cool. Or, oh, that was unexpected and I feel a little bit sad. Or, oh, you're doing things well. And I'm like, this is very much...
well done, Blizzard.
That's where a little bit of it feels like, a pat on the head, like, well done, you finally learned this.
Yeah.
But there is an element where it's like, you do have to praise that stuff. And I'm like, will it make it, I guess, will it make it an enjoyable experience? Yes. I have had, even though it's unfinished and there's a lot of cutscenes without audio, and obviously it's hard to enjoy a cutscene with a big red work in progress across it. But I've really been enjoying, like, Dragonflight Beta. I've been really enjoying the story.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is I am definitely willing to give it the good faith approach, and I am actively going out of my way to make sure I read everything and I click on NPCs that are nearby that I can speak to, stuff like that. So I am getting the whole thing, and it's way, way better than I expected it to be. It's still like we're still batting a 7 out of 10 at top. Like that's the kind of angle we're looking at. We're still looking at, Baby's first indie game could have a better story.
It's
for sure.
not going to be a Shadowbringers.
Yeah, it never would or even feasibly could be in any shape or form because it's a different game. But it is learning lessons and going, fuck it, yeah. So you're gonna sit there and complain about us not having enough character moments. Fuck you. Talk to characters. Here's loads of characters to talk to, and it's those ways of pretty obvious, really directed feedback that everyone's kind of, because you can say story bad, and they're like, well, we didn't set out to make a bad story. We set out to make a good one. Like, oh, that's not very good feedback. Versus,
story's fake and lame.
Yeah, versus we would like to, more character dialogue, more learning about the world, more kind of, I guess, reasons to care about the individuals involved and stuff like that. And they do more of all of that. And I'm like, shit, that's good. Shit, that's good. I'm enjoying it. And I'm also enjoying all the other parts. Like, I've really taken to the talent trees recently, especially with the last wave of updates. They're no longer frustrating, and I actually feel like I get to do cool things. There's, what else was it? Skinning, running around skinning is really fun. I want to actually do leatherworking properly because it's a thing you can put effort in. It's like a what's it called? A role-playing game, one of them things. Them RPGs that people used to play before they all became Destiny. That kind of thing. I'm like, yeah. So it is, reading is not optimal XP. That's why I'm making the big disclaimer of there's quite a lot of you get in what you put out in Dragonflight in terms of talking to everyone and doing side quest stuff. That's still there. Yeah. It always has been, because side quests in Zereth Mortis and even in Base Shadowlands were pretty good. But it is more or less, there are a lot of things to really praise Dragonflight for, and it doesn't look like there's any massive pitfalls they're going to dive headfirst into like they usually do. Maybe that's, maybe I'm on a little bit too much hopium, but that's my experience so far at Dragonflight Beta. So I'm like, yeah, I ain't gonna tell how it is. It is a profound 6.5 out of 10, but that's better than being 4 out of 10. That means at this rate, next expansion will be 9 out of 10.
That's great. Yeah, and I guess we'd say 6.5 out of 10. People are like, wow, you're that, because to some people 6 out of 10 is like a 0.
Yeah,
it's worth saying. Me and Matt are both people who use the full scale. Yes. Right? Because sometimes in game reviewing, it's it's a 7, an 8, or a 9. Those are the only numbers that can be used.
Yeah.
Because maybe this is a 3.5 stars. And actually, if a 3.5 stars is oriented to what you personally would like, that can actually be a great experience.
I love some 4 out of 10s.
And that's the other thing, the other bit of context too. The idea of Kusoge, which you've talked about so much. Yeah. Which I guess we don't really need to recap now. But, take one of my favorite games of all time is 2 of them. Lord of the Rings Battle for Middle-earth 1 and Freelancer. I will never contend that those games are objectively more than a 7 out of 10. But to me, they're a 9.5. Because of, what I like, where I found them, etc., etc. Plus, I mean, for Battle for Middle-earth, especially Battle for Middle-earth 1, not 2, I think 1 has a just beautifully clean, simple, and well-executed rock, paper, scissors-based gameplay that is deeply fucking thematic. And Matt, we've got to play that game online because I actually
Sure.
think you'd enjoy it a fuckload.
Yep, sure.
And actually, see, to be honest, this is my manic wolf. I have manic wolf inside me. Matt, I want to hire COO. I want to hire a fucking biz dev powerhouse. I want to hire like 2 more writers, and I want to hire an editor.
Sweet.
And I want enough room that we can have like a LAN situation in the office. Could you imagine the look in Jared's eyes if he walked into work one day and we're like, hey bro, Supcom LAN after work?
Probably get frustrated and be like, sorry, too much work to do.
Yeah, he'd fucking destroy us too.
Yeah.
That would be the problem.
Of course it would.
Don't know.
Of
Thinking.
course it would.
At what point do you just go big dick, as they say? Now, speaking of going big dick, this is a long post. That was a beautiful segue.
This is a very long post.
Here's
which
the
is
class
fantastic.
changes. Now, and this is great now that this stream is available with 60 frames per second footage capture. It keeps going and 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 going.
Yeah.
That was a lot of words. Let's see how many words are we dealing with here. Oh, there you go. 5,000. Very good.
Nice.
So, as I zoom my way back up to the top, if I was to just put in... There we go. So, we've had Druid, Priest, Hunter, Rogue, Mistweaver, Ellie. That's a lot of changes. Now, Matt, I don't really know. Maybe you know the highlights of what you'd like to cover, because, I feel like we could be here for like 8 hours, and that maybe wouldn't be the most, like, fun for
We could do
everybody.
Boomkin at least.
But I at least just want to, like, present the point to everybody. Like,
Yeah.
this is just this week's stuff, and it's a lot of changes. And
Yeah.
this is really good. This is what we've said we wanted to see. Now we're actually seeing it. And it's important, like, if you are, say, one of their harshest critics, well, that just means there's, like, a standard that you think they should be able to achieve and are not achieving. So when they then start to meet that standard or exceed that standard, you can't just be like, well, my grift is to be their harshest critic. No, your job is to be fair. And we have to be fair to them. This is good shit. So to hop into balance.
That's a thing where it's fundamentally if doing any of this is about bringing value to other people, then you kind of have to at least be reasonable and kind of talk about what is real within the hyper reality we all share. And obviously there is a reality where the whole thing is likely just nothing is going to be perfect in this sense. However, the actual ability of them writing about all of this class changes and communicating like they are is, if it stays, it's completely unprecedented, and it finally puts them on at least one metric at the actual top of, not the top as in the undisputed best, but now they're actually up there with the big boys in terms of actually communicating with players in a live service format. They're not as practiced as Riot. They likely never will be, because Riot have been doing like League live service stuff for over a decade now. And I recently looked at some of their recent stuff, and it's how do I put this? It's systemically designed to be perfect. Where you can look at like Riot patch notes for League of Legends and understand everything in a second and go, holy shit, that's ideal. And you also understand why. But the idea of like, basically they're doing things. They're now actually telling us what the fuck's going on and making changes, which is a different world.
Yeah.
We live in an entirely new world for Blizzard Entertainment, which I've been talking about with people who, let's say, people who definitely hold a lot of spite in their hearts.
John!
Yeah.
John on our team who had a Final Fantasy video. Sorry. Oh, something in my chest there.
Yeah, there's a lot of spite for World of Warcraft, and it is very much the answer is, even if you aren't going to praise this and say, or even if you are going to hold the stance of this is still nowhere near enough, it is still like, you can see they feel the fire. You can see the smoke from the fire lit under their ass.
Yeah.
It took a little while for that fire to get roaring, but it is actually like full on. And nothing's going to change World of Warcraft's endgame in terms of what it is. And this is the one thing that I always have. the actual game, the actual end game of World of Warcraft isn't really all that good. Everything else about the game is kind of almost the better parts of it.
I understand what you mean, yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's still within the bounds of what it literally is, but within the bounds of what it literally is, it is improving in every metric within that boundary. And that's obvious by the developers actually going, hey, here's feedback. Oh, feedback? We'll read that. That doesn't go in the paper shredder along with all the documents about everything else. That's actually going to go into the feedback pile. We'll read that and then make changes.
Yeah.
So we should.
Yeah, and you wanted to dive
Yes.
a little bit into balance, I think.
Yes.
So how are we going to go through this?
Give me just 1 second. I have a quick. Where am I going? I'm lost.
Because a bit of what they're talking about is
Yes.
overall then changing up the connections
Yeah.
and some.
Yeah, this is where the actual. That's the quote I was looking for, right? It's our talent tree design philosophy has changed considerably over the course of Dragonflight's development. Community feedback and the lessons learned through playtesting help us identify good practices to follow when constructing a talent tree. Equipped with what we've learned, we've set out to update Balance's tree and bring it in line with our current design philosophy. So without looking at this super in depth, it is full on just. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good design philosophy. Because every updated tree I've looked at, I've been able to go, I can do that. Oh, I can do that. I can do that. Like one of the things I built on Feral was a questing, specifically designed for the kind of damage profile you need when questing. Which is very much, every now and again, you want to kill something quick. Or you want to kill a couple things at a time. And it's that idea of, I now have a build that's like, I guess I don't rely on cooldowns very much. I just do a whole bunch of damage. Do I need really long-term damage? No. Do I need short-term damage? It'll kill stuff really quickly and then move on to the next one. Sweet. I'll have that. And that's the idea where how I've been able to design a talent tree that for me that feels like it actually works for that. I've been able to grab enough stuff from the class tree, enough stuff from the spec tree that feels pretty good. And I'm like, shit, nice. This actually works. And that's manifesting enough in balance. So the idea of them just talking about like the interconnectedness of the talent nodes, like the oppositioning where it's all about, just actually being able to pick what you want to a degree feels great. And then like I was talking a little bit this earlier, but the idea that them going, hey, we heard that this is just Shadowlands Pumpkin. We fixed that. Sorry. And they did that by just adding these what do you call these talents? If you scroll down a little bit there to just grab the talents down there.
New additions?
Yeah, so there's Umbral Embrace, which is it is literally just a random bit of extra damage. Sure, fine. But at least it feels a little bit interesting. Sometimes. There's Wild Mushroom, which is just a new old spell, but it's also changed. Oh wait, no. Oh no, they actually sorry, it targets enemies now instead of being a ground placement. And it also gives what they call it, Astral Power, which is nice. Look at that Astral Power generation in AoE. For big AoE, it's not massive, but it's there. It now makes AoE not Starfire, Sunfire, and Starfall. And then there's like the Denizen in the Dream, where that's Denizen in the Dream. Is it very good? Chance summon a fairy dragon. Is that really interesting gameplay? No, of course it's not. It's summoning a fucking fairy dragon. But what is it also? Summoning a fairy dragon. That shit's cool.
Yeah.
That's what Boomkins want to do. They want to be doing that stuff. Same with like the Fury of Loon. That's a 25% effectiveness. It's like, yeah, Fury of Loon every other clips. Sweet, go for it. That's just that is effectively. Oh yeah, and also obviously the Starfall update, where it's like, hello, multiple uses of this ability may overlap. Also, it's not a target anymore. We've taken your feedback. We are going to make the spell that you actually like, and we're going to make it work. And it's like, are you sure? Like, what are you charging for this? Are you going to double the price of Dragonflight? Are we going to lose 2 patches for this? Have we lost a raid tier because you made one class good? And that's the thing where they're kind of doing that across other ranges where they're just talking about everything in detail, going, here's what we're doing. We're doing exactly what. We're doing core design features. We're learning and expanding on our philosophy, because that's the problem, right? The problem was they would have a philosophy and they would go, sorry, that's written down, and written down means in stone, so we're not fucking changing. Sorry, what's that? What's that you think about covenants? Go fuck yourself. That's more or less what they might as well said. But now it's like, hey, here's something, and the player response is, I would rather have this, if you don't mind. And they go, okay, we'll find something that works with what you want and within our design. And you're like, oh yeah, you're doing your job. You're doing your job in a way that's actually respecting players and listening to feedback. That's all people want. That's all people really want, honestly. There's not even that much else to talk about. In terms of all these, it's all that idea. So unless you want to talk about priests specifically, because even like the feral stuff, the feral changes are all just like, yep, here's some changes that are like been renamed and they're kind of nicer, and here's the idea of, they specifically talk there about the left and right side of the trees for feral, where that's one of the things I was really annoyed about, was like left side was just single target, right side was AoE, so you effectively had no choice. And then they went, oh yeah, start with that. We've kind of blended it so you can more mix and match and kind of take some AoE, take some single target if you want, or you can go full either build, because we've interconnected all the nodes a little bit more now. You're like, beautiful. Beautiful. Is it perfect? No. Is it better? Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's like, you know what? If you wanted a quote for me on Dragonflight so far, it's not perfect, but it's better. And all the connotations that comes with that. All the connotations that comes with that.
Yeah, it's just interesting kind of reading chat while you've been.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, no, I need to hop in and see how Hunter feels. That's the thing.
I don't think Hunters have had the most changes overall, though.
If they ended up getting me liking MM again, that would be a feat. But
well, that would require a full redesign, right?
Probably would.
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, yeah, between Feral and Balance, that is some damn good shit.
Yeah, and that's the thing where even if they're just gonna, even if they're making decisions that maybe not perfect or people maybe not super like that much, they at least explain why, and everyone goes, sure. And they don't just explain why and say that's the end of the story. They just go, here's why we think that, and also here's what we're doing to kind of make up for that and make sense of that. Where specifically on like removing the Shadow Mend, they're like, hey, yeah, we know that this is probably gonna, impact discipline, so, or like in terms of their ability to heal, because Shadow Mend's key for that, like emergency stuff. So we will be happy to bump flash heal for discipline if it proves that way. I'm like, cool. That's the intelligent part, I think, right? That's the intelligent part of communicating with the community. Communicating of talking to people, basically, is going, well, how is, and this may sound a little bit cynical, but it is how it works, right? You go, well, how is what I'm going to say going to make them feel? How will they feel after I've sent this message? And then preempting that, and then having something in the tank ready for it, or countering it in your initial message, where you go, okay, well, how are people going to respond about, in example, flash heal? Okay, so they're going to be annoyed because this change affects discipline more. So we'll also throw in a message saying, hey, this guys, we know it's going to be a problem, so we'll solve it. And they're like, the pitchfork is right. Okay, pitchfork's away for today. And they're learning that. So someone's kind of, I guess, someone is learning there. Someone at the PR team is kind of cares what people think. And I think that's maybe like the first step to making the game that people care about, is showing they care one way or the other. It could all just go horribly wrong. Who knows?
Yeah. Who knows? But at least it seems the set of processes, like the mechanics of it getting better over time, they're in play.
Yeah.
Right? Like the feedback loop that takes us in the right direction is in play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's just becoming a general feeling, I think.
Vibes are getting better.
Yeah.
There you go.
The vibes are getting better.
That's the whole stream. Goodbye.
Done. Bye.
Vibes are getting slightly better.
I just wonder, is there anything else?
Not that I'm super aware of, to be honest. There's a lot of real depth here that I wouldn't feel comfortable talking about, just because I haven't actually explored a lot of these.
To be honest.
And this is the part that's interesting about the talent trees. Whereas before, with the talents being so, like, I guess the number of combinations is less. It's a lot easier to look at them and go, oh, I see how this works with the core. So I'd be able to, you know, vaguely talk about almost any spec or class. Before, maybe legendaries in Shadowlands. I could almost nearly do that off the top of my head now. As soon as I open a class, I'm like, is this the same? There's so much more depth to what you can do with it. Not to how it turns up and how it plays at the end of the day, but to how you construct what you can actually do. And that's even the thing where, unfortunately, it will just be, you'll go to Blood Mallet and that'll have your talent tree. You'll go to Wohead and it'll be like, here's the talent tree we find works best. And that's the kind of thing people will do that. But there is room for you to absolutely play within them and do other things. It is down to balance to make them actually feel sort of okay. And that's going to be nigh impossible because I guess it's a case where there's just going to be some abilities will be strong and others, some different, different builds will just be better elsewhere. And that's something you'll always have to contend with. But if you're willing to kind of go, well, let's see what I can do. Let's see what I can do because I'm doing world content. Can I make something that feels better to me? You should be able to do that. Which is part of the... I want to set up a charitable organization called the Anti-Meta Gaming Charity. And I can rescue people who have been damaged by metagaming everything. Very...
That's always going to happen, but at least here you feel like you can cook something up. And at least for new players who come into the game just, raw, right, with no sort of prior knowledge, they will have a significantly more educated and superior experience.
And I also will say, I was skeptical about how initially you would be going, here, talent trees. What do you mean you're giving me an extra 5 talent points and the level up experience? Are you trying to make me feel good about getting my Shadowlands shit back? That's not how it's felt to me. Every talent point I get, because then this is the problem with them being weighted towards the bottom of the tree. Every talent point I actually kind of get when I'm leveling in the bit, I'm like, nice. Oh, nice. I get a new thing. Like, what was it? It was, it was the last talent point I got me Circle of Life and Death. And I'm running Circle of Life and Death because I like to, come out of stealth, rake, blah, blah, blah. Because you have Predator, I tend to Tiger Fury before because I also have loads of energy because I have Soul of Forest. But I like, raking straight into a Rip because I know that based on how I've been killing things, Rip will just about expire by the time I finish killing it. I usually, get like a, open Rick from stealth, Rip, couple shreds, hit 5 combo points, Ferocious Bite, they're dead. And Rip's just expiring. I'm like, hey, look at that. That was enabled by Circle of Life and Death. And I'm like, I feel like I'm doing well. I haven't gotten detail installed, so, I might be better just doing something entirely different. But I'm like, yeah, this feels good. I'm enjoying this.
Yeah.
I'd be enjoying it more if we had EU testing servers, thank you.
Sure does make those empowered abilities feel funky.
Yep.
Yep, definitely an issue when playing on NA, but is what it is. So, class stuff. Done. The other thing, and this is kind of fun, but we do have a trailer done by Hurricane. And you know what? I do
that's loud.
Rip ears.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, man, is it still too loud?
That should be okay.
Cool. This trailer is pretty sick. The thing that Hurricane's trailers always did was just like 10x the scale.
Oh, apparently we have Echo. Are you playing the stream? Are you playing the stream? No, it should be no okay. Wait, Echo? How do we have Echo?
Is this... Remember the mysterious Echo we had in the other rig? That we never understood why it happened?
That doesn't make any sense. It's playing twice, apparently. How is that feasible?
Is it currently playing right now?
Hang on. Oh. Hang on. Drop the volume and play it again. Oh, yep. Sorry. Yep. Sorted.
There we go. So yeah, Hurricane always just like goes bam in the scale.
Yeah, it's very... Very something.
Yeah, like this for the whole, like the war that happens underneath Naxxramas and Dragonblight, which of course is one of the most like epic moments. Or wait, is this them attacking Stormwind?
Yes, it is.
Whoops. Oh, of course it's them attacking Stormwind. Well, there you go. This is not something that's been portrayed in a big trailer before.
No.
I mean, yeah. It's like the way the Blizzard's big trailers kind of like are able to capture some of the fantasy. I think like he does a good job, and I've noticed a lot of post-processing effects and things like that. That
almost too much to me, but yeah.
It's like, I would agree. I do think, though, that to the kind of average viewing eye, it's enough to, like, give it this almost hyper-reality feel that gives it a sort of a filmic quality that they enjoy. I think that's one of the things that's generally worked pretty well for the Hurricane trailers. Yeah,
so I will argue that comes across in a little bit of, how do I put this? I had an analogy, but I didn't want to use it. Shit. What was it? Just the idea of, I know what it was. I was going to say it's like the whole World of Warcraft 2 in Unreal Engine 5, and you're like, but that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't look right. Sure, it's high fidelity, but it doesn't make sense. It's like if the game looked like this, it'd be fucking unplayable. But it does work for like the kind of, the experience of it. The kind of, this is how I imagine it sometimes kind of vibe.
Yeah, well, one of the cool things about how this is done is, because like I've been following this guy's work for a long time.
Yeah.
He works... I mean, definitely with other assets, but like a lot of this is just exported from WoW.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, and taken into like Cinema 4D or whatever and kind of polished up. Unlike something where we are using other assets to recreate something.
Yeah.
I think that's always been one of the impressive things.
Yeah, and as people are pointing out, the attention to detail from Hurricane, this is absolutely brutal. Every single asset is utterly on point. Nothing is out of place. Nothing's anachronistic. It's all just, this is what it literally is.
Yeah, like this is Darnassus is getting fucked right now.
Yeah, and everyone's in the appropriate gear for it.
Yeah. All those things that just give you that like little bit of, there's scale.
Yeah, there's so many.
Like, this whole thing, I mean... Imagine, not to say it would be reasonable for it to be like this in-game, of course, because that'd be so much work for like a quick little event, and I actually do think that the event is really awesome, but like, I mean, that feels like, oh shit, we have just been reamed, we need to go and deal with the Lich King.
I will say that, and this is exceedingly...
Take another shot for an nitpick?
No, this is an nitpick.
Oh, shit.
This is something good. There is... at least 2 moments in the Dragonflight and beta where the sense of scale, the sense of, this is actually happening. Yeah. There are a lot of NPCs joining in this event, and it's like very visible. There's a lot of stuff actually kind of happening there where it is full on like, shit. I felt that was a cool moment. I understand how many things are involved here. And it's like, it's not full on this vibes, right? Because you can't do that in game. Not reasonably. That's the tier of like AAA single player games and stuff. But it is still like, that you can mimic the feeling okay, like FF does in the Gimlet Dark. But specifically, it's like this is just actually profoundly just like
Gimlet Dark was sick. Well, it's one thing actually.
Does this better.
It's why I feel like that, and I know the repetition was an issue, but the Warlords of Draenor intro experience, it had so many like scripted events and stuff that it actually felt, and I know it doesn't hold up playing it multiple times, of course, but I thought the like first time through, I thought it was way better than Broken Shore, way better than Battle for Azeroth, way better than the Maw thing. Pretty sweet. So anyway, Hurricane, nailing scale, making your world feel just... I mean, goddamn.
You can tell this person loves World of Warcraft more than they have any right to.
Yeah, and it's cool because like this is Blizzard.
Hopefully, give them plenty of beans for like.
I'd hope so, but like this is smart. This is Blizzard going and be like, you care a fuckload about this.
Leverage that.
Do you want to be able to just spend however much time you need? We will pay.
Yeah, same with IK edit.
Community the IK edit. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit.
Trailer took him 300 days apparently.
Man, look at this shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this being a solo-ish, or I think solo work is... That's insane. That's insane. amazing. Fucking Grizzly Hills, man.
Yeah.
Or is that Fjord? No, that's Fjord.
Yeah. The Zeppelins in the sky. That's such a great film.
Yeah, and see, once you start having to like animate all these things,
Yeah.
doing more than just the stock animations, oh boy, that is when it's taking a long time.
It's insane. Yeah.
I suppose a welcome is in
Man, memories. Fucking landing in here,
Like that. That'll affect them.
stuck into the big war.
That said,
Even,
every
like-
time I see that face, I'm like, oh yeah, this is World of Warcraft, and it's horrible.
Well, it is just interesting that like that's a WoW gnome, and
Yeah.
goddamn if you tried to make that look like a Wrath gnome, but still that it would work in this trailer.
Yeah.
Like there's a fine line there. Mm-hmm. Play, please. Thank you.
I will say there is one part of this,
Oh, the tundra.
and this is literally me nitpicking. There's only one part of the show I'm like, I don't know if I agree with that. Everything else is beautiful, but I'll say when it happens. And I might be wrong. Actually, I'll watch it again just to make sure. That's
Armrest.
so nice.
Yeah. And it's again that thing, it's like this doesn't look like we have done a big WoW CG where it doesn't look like the game world that you're used to
Yeah.
playing. You go here like you've exported the map that my character has
that's
been in.
literally it.
Like that's that's the feel it's achieved for sure.
Yep.
Man,
Oh yeah, that
sorry.
didn't make any sense. Did you miss? Oh yeah, that's what it is. It's those level up animations.
Fuck it. No way. I am down.
I-
I will fight you.
I feel like that's right. So okay, it's until that point, none of it felt like it was video game World of Warcraft. It all felt like it was World of Warcraft, the World of Warcraft.
That's
as
fair.
soon as the level of animation happens, I'm like, that's a game system. That's not accurate. That's not accurate to what's actually happening. That's a game system. If you know, I like the reason I didn't say it at the start until I saw it again was I was thinking, oh, is that a what do you call it? Is that like a buff icon or something? Is that someone, you know, buffing someone else? But if it's a level up, that's different. That is not what would happen to someone in the World of Warcraft.
So, you know what?
Yeah.
I accept what you're saying for sure.
Yes.
I think that for a lot of people, that's a nod to how this grand, as it's entitled,
Yeah.
journey kind of like felt.
Yeah.
Even
Hang
here,
on. Go.
like,
Yeah.
I've walked around this, my character has seen this,
Yeah.
and you've fucking faithfully taken it in here and polished it up.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that's a level up, right? It's weird because two are happening at the same time, but no one's motioning for a buff. Frame by frame this. Frame by frame this.
Yeah, no, it's a level up. And I suppose the reason
That's a lot of frames.
the reason why, right,
Yeah.
is to have some offset motion in the animation, so it feels
Yeah.
like there's a bit of flow to the two of them.
Yeah. No.
I'm good for it,
Oh,
man.
you can hear the leveling sound effect. Yeah, no, I am not. In a way that's different to me, not. Or me, I like, okay, well, I'll say when it gets to it. That was fantastic. That's so cool.
Yeah.
All those rooms. Beautiful. Yeah. Is it? Yeah, it's this. This is absolutely fantastic.
This is fucking cool.
Yeah. Full on Armor of the Dead, faithfully recreated. It is beautiful. That fantastic as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, bits of this are like just your mind's eye, the level of fantasy and imagination that you have as a kid. You're looking in this game where like this frost giant's got like 2 animations. I know it's more than 2, but it's like this is the fantasy that it evokes.
Yeah. There's Restarter Torn DK.
Everyone rushing through Dalaran. Squads of people.
All the news about 8 people in Ashes of Valar.
That whole whole segment's so
Winter Grasp.
And you know what? Fair play. Like that's what Wintergrasp felt like.
Yeah.
And this is what the quests underneath Naxxramas felt like. Like they were cool. All this Bolvar and shit.
Hang on.
Sarth.
Hang on. Oh, okay, I'm going to say I was in Iceland. Running while casting Frostbolt? Bullshit, no. Yeah.
Sarth.
Hang on, was that a halberd with a good animation? That's not realistic.
KT.
Yeah.
In cooler fashion than we saw in Shadowlands.
That was the awesome.
Money shot.
That's what Dragon Redding feels like.
Oh, that's not money shot. This
It's
is is the fucking money shot. No, it's almost the money. This is another money shot.
That's really nice.
Oh, the progress, man.
Oh, so shit.
That trailer.
I know that character!
For a solo editor, that is fucking insane. That's insane. People often don't appreciate how much time things take. When you are doing this, you know, After Effects, Cinema 4D, all that workflow, how much time shit takes.
Yeah,
this is crazy.
It's really hard to even concept how much work that is. It's not even like, even if it was a group of people, that is still such a profound amount of work.
And if you want to sort of
unbelievable.
Understand some, well, this is the World of Warcraft YouTube page, which we are actually going to venture back to quite soon. But I want to take you to Hurricane's YouTube page because he posts behind the scenes, and I love how he edits them. At least there's one I remember from years ago. Man, all these are cool. Where is his making of, though? Because he did a very... Oh, man, I can't believe how many years ago this is. And it's because he was originally in the private server community.
That would explain the capability with all of the...
Here's some of your stuff. Right, so this is going to be getting your assets out. That felt before. So this is exporting like the world map data from the client. You can grab the FBXs with the animations for these guys and drop them in. A little bit of cleanup. It's going to be some custom stuff. So grabbing all of this. Now what you're seeing is kind of like building a background with 2D assets and stuff. Together.
That's extremely
Obviously.
loud. Jeez.
Oh shit.
Yeah. You got it done there?
Yeah. And suffice to say, this all takes a hell of a lot longer than it looks in this very flashily cut segment. I'll move it down a wee bit more. And then, of course, what you throw on in the end, right? Because at this stage, you're probably thinking, oh, this looks like WoW with extras.
Yeah.
Bam, you slap on the grade. And yeah, it's like a stylistic choice. I suppose this is more of a Zack Snyder kind of grade. I don't say it in a demeaning way. It's just like, literally it's
dark and gray,
punching for a more stylized grade.
Yeah.
Just totally one way to do it. So this is a great example of like, building that scene. And you'll see even in the makeup of this scene, these are just straight out from the game. But then in the game, like these bits are just separate 3D models, not terrain files. So, bam.
Reconstruct.
Got to reconstruct that shit. And of course, that's like custom work, animating the fall and everything. And all of the trailers on the Hurricane channel are really cool, and I highly recommend you guys check them out. And certainly, if you are wanting to get into this kind of thing, I mean, it's pretty, it's pretty inspiring stuff. I love videos like this where you're like, fucking hell, I wish I knew the how. I'm seeing how you end up. Like, man, look at that scene. Just like seeing the scene being built. So, yeah, well, that was quite a lot for week one. But anyway, this is just a really, really cool video. I mean, hey, you want Tempest Keep to fucking feel like Tempest Keep? I think he really achieves it in this. So, there you go. That is some of the pretty damn awesome content.
Yep.
Mr. Hurricane. And this leads me on to another thing I wanted to talk about, Matt. A bit of this is just, hey, do Blizzard get it?
They're starting to, more than before, for sure.
Oh, look at that. They have a little animated video. But no, I want to talk about Blizzard getting it on the community front. Because, so there's the Hurricane trailer that we just watched together, right? On top of that, we have Platinum doing lore videos. And what I thought was interesting...
Troll Drakari one went up?
Yep. And here's what I thought was interesting about that. You see, back when we worked with Blizzard on the like WoW Starter Guide series,
Yeah.
like in a way,
30,000 years ago.
yeah, it was like back in BFA.
Yeah, you were 6 years old.
Stuff was, in a way, like all squeaky clean. And obviously, I doubt he's going to be swearing and stuff in these videos, but it feels like a Platinum video. And that's what I thought was neat. Like, that Hurricane video does not feel like a Blizzard trailer.
No, they didn't. It's clear that if Blizzard had any editorial oversight, they were extremely limited in how much they used it, or they were basically just going, "Oh yeah, that seems cool." They're not hiring someone and going, "Hey, we really like what you do. Now do what you do, but," and then hands over a list of things you're not allowed to do. I mean, they likely do literally, but that list isn't 40 miles long. It's going to be, hey, don't do anything completely mental.
Yeah.
Stay within what you usually do. Be creative if you want. Give us fire us a draft of the script, whatever way you write it. Fire us over that, and then fire us over a couple. Every like month or so, fire us over whatever you're working on, or depends on the time scale of the project.
Yeah.
And they go every time whoever's doing it's going, oh shit, that looks sick. Keep it lit. Oh hell yeah. And then by the end of that's like, hey, how's the project going? They're like, almost done. They're like, sweet, excellent, work away. Just that kind of relationship.
So it's like, this is a, made with WoW Model Viewer and, After Effects.
Third-party tools. Ah!
Well, I mean, that's kind of funny. But like, yeah, this is a Platinum video, right? They're happy to have that be a Platinum video. If I was to go to the Great Push.
Oh, I get it stuff.
So anyway, I started blasting.
Oh, those.
There we go. We have an It's Always Sunny meme on a World of Warcraft thing. But I wanted to go for is this. This is, of course, the excellent trailer for the Great Push, which is focusing in on the, of course, the dungeons of Season 4 of Shadowlands, done by IK Edit. And like, he really effectively captures the gameplay fantasy of this stuff. And again, this does not feel like an official Blizzard trailer. This feels like IK Edit's work.
Well, that's because it's not, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's an IK Edit video. It's just World of Warcraft paid for it and put it on their channel.
Yeah, and it's just really neat that Blizzard are actually happy to do this stuff outsourced directly to the community. That is a level of community engagement and actually, meeting players where they're at that, like, if we weren't all so burnt on the game design decisions of BFA and Shadowlands, we would be significantly more like excited about this kind of thing going on. But it's just worth highlighting, like, Blizzard is greenlighting and evidently funding really fucking cool projects like this.
That is,
and I hope that these guys are being paid a fair industry rate for a experienced VFX artist.
Yeah, that's the only thing that we don't actually know and we need to be careful of, because if we just turn around and be like, hey, this is absolutely wonderful, Blizzard, you're doing a great job, and it turns out they're kind of going, hey, we can give you, basically, I think if these people would have made more money by putting it in their own channels and getting ad revenue or throwing a sponsor on, I think that'd be a problem.
I mean, I hope this is at least 4 digits.
Yeah, it would need to be, well, let's put it this way, for
good few grand. Like
for Hurricanes, I think it would need to be more than 4 digits given the amount of time horizon.
Yeah, like
that'd probably need to be at least 5. Like
this is. I mean, with Hurricane, like, if Hurricane could be earning, let's just use USD, like 80 to 100K USD. Blizzard's asking for multiple months of that individual's time. If that's what the time frame of a really in-depth project like that's going to be, like, I really hope Liz is coughing up and it's not just a passion thing, because I think what these trailers show, and like the Platinum videos as well, like, this is super high quality content.
Yeah.
It's real awesome stuff. So basically, it's just hats off. And it is good to see Blizzard engaging, I think, very authentically.
Yeah, it's like there's Stradley saying, did the WoW team kick out the Activision suits? Feels like they don't have as much power at the moment. I don't know if that's true, but it's certainly, I could certainly understand if there was a report that, someone with insider knowledge comes out and goes, hey, so, internally from Blizzard, we've heard that the Activision suits, or whatever you want to, the people from there aren't as much control. Mike Ibarra has very much turned around and said, this is my organization, let me run it the way I want to. and then, trust them on that, and then that's actually like trickled down to the power that, Holly, is it Longdale? Is it Long? It's just Longdale, right? Yeah, and John Haidt have all of this kind of influence going, yeah, what are we going to do? We're going to hire someone for community management who's like super on the money. We're going to have enough money to make sure they don't get like just poached by Riot or someone. We'll hire someone who like loves Blizzard games and they really know it, and then they'll do the stuff for us. Not in they'll do it for us in that way, but like they'll lead the organization to actually start to do these things that people really want to see. So that is like, assuming people are getting paid enough, then hell yeah, this is just literally that's big vibes of, oh yeah, they're better, way better.
Yeah, fucking big tier for that.
Yep.
As for the things, Matt, how do you think we should go? Because
go quick and to bed, I think.
Okay. Okay, so I guess going through things, there's a bit of a lull.
Oh, this is brilliant.
Jalor is coming to Hearthstone in the Mon Disorder mini set. Finally, we're going to get to see the good version of the Shadowlands in Hearthstone.
It's a mini set. It's not.
Yeah.
I'd love to see a good version of it in the campaign.
But hey, you can buy the golden edition for $69.99 or 7,000 runestones.
Yeah.
The new currency. Woo! Yeah, that will get you 4 legendary cards, 1 epic card, 14 rares, and 16 commons. We go, look at Sylvanas the Accursed. She,
Accused.
she does
Accused.
the Accused. Yeah. She does a re. Look at that. Does the re. Very good. We have got the Jailer. What does he do? Destroy your deck. For the rest of the game, your minions are immune.
That's interesting.
There you go. What does Sylvanas do?
That's
There's 2 Sylvanas.
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, don't really give a shit. Some other card previews. I mean, hey, fun to see the Hearthstone artists do this stuff. But anyway, honestly, this is just here for a quick laugh.
Yeah, literally funny.
Yeah.
Well, Blizzard don't see Shadowlands as a mistake they should never, ever, ever, ever touch again. Seems.
Yeah, I guess another thing for the Blizzardy news, Diablo 4 testing is drawing near. There's they had a leak. We'll have a video up in that on the news channel either tomorrow or Sunday. But just that their endgame confidential testing with preferential access to people who have got time played in Diablo products on their Blizzard account, that's going to be going on soon. That's really cool, right? It's good they're doing it that way. They're clearly doing this before the marketing beta, and they want externals before a marketing beta. That is a good sign.
Yeah, that's actual feedback, actually making a good game.
For Hearthstone, I haven't looked into it, but there is just the lead hero designer quit. That kind of looks bad.
Which
who knows?
It does. Like, you have to say it definitely does. But also...
Or it could
who
just be
knows?
like, all right, finally we're shipping. My work here is done. New adventure.
Well,
You could be sick of it after a while.
isn't that one of the fundamental problems of live service games?
Bingo.
Where you go, okay, let's make a game. Okay, we have worked ourselves to dust and made a game. What's next, employer? Wait, we're not done making game? When does it end? That's the neat part. It doesn't. Oh, this is comic. I saw it. There was like a manga panel about like, coming up to the end of the 2 weeks. What's after that? The next 2 weeks start. You're like, sweet. That's how life feels a lot of the time. But especially if you're going to be a live service developer, especially a designer, going right, we're completely and utterly out of ideas for heroes. What do? We need another one in 9 weeks. Like, what? No, I'm out. Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye. You're not paying me enough. Goodbye. That's what I think would be worried about. Like, oh, Jesus Christ. That's a heavy grind. So
we got that.
hopefully they've got like all the heroes designed for the whole year. And then that's why they left.
Do you want a quick preview of the topics that, in case we went through things too quick, I donated in here? We have Twitch goes boom Lamau.
Yeah.
NVIDIA greed classism yay. And Donkey Man grr.
Yeah.
Basically, Donkey's doing a publisher. People try to dunk in the donk on the Twitter, as they do, because everyone is a different power block coalition and they all hate each other. And it was pretty ridiculous. But we actually have a video on this coming up tomorrow, which means the Diablo one will be up on Sunday.
Lots of content.
So, lots of screeing and reeing and shit about that. As for Twitch...
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. Yep, video went up today. You can check that out. Oh, boy. And then NVIDIA.
If you want a graphics card for 11.0, nope, sir.
Also,
Better
EVGA Runaway.
Get a fourth job.
For other things, this month's Patreon, September.
Priest.
Yep. Priest stuff's awesome. These pins are fucking dope. So that's the situation with Priest this month over on our Patreon, where Lore Walking Podcast.
You're correct. There are now actually.
Aha!
You know what? Actually, that's a good thing you reminded me, because I meant to say, I don't think I said this last week. Was it done last week? Anyway, so I've lost my mind. Members. Hello, members. It's been a while. You can get the podcast now in a members only playlist that is available on this very channel. So when we're done here, you can go and listen to all those. And a new one went up today, which is Jared and Michael talking about Neltharion, or as most know him, Deathwing. And then next week or next 2 weeks, depends on time, there will be one where me and Jared talk about Death Knights. And that one will mark number 9. So there are 8 total podcasts available for you to listen to right now, being
In the Lore Walking series.
somewhere around 6 hours of content of listening to. The first one is really scuffed audio. Sorry about that.
That's way better.
But everything past that is substantially better, as you can tell.
Yeah.
We had our dark audio phase, and we had another dark audio phase today because I wasn't paying attention and you didn't look at the levels. But yeah.
Whoops.
Yeah, so that's there. It's also everything is also there. All the Lore Walking stuff is also on Patreon, I think.
Yes.
Yes, actually, I'm telling you a lie. The Neltharion is going up in 7 minutes because it's scheduled for then.
There we go.
So apologies in the 7-minute delay. We'll hang here for 7 more minutes until it goes live.
Or look at the
But
class
that's it,
card.
yeah.
These come with like a little stand, so if you want to, put that up upon your desk and complete the set for this year, then there is that. We've Temple of the Hydra. This is tying into
The Hydra.
especially if you take a look at the pros that is on the back. You will see how all of these things are tying together. We're having some fun building worlds and doing things.
The pros. You mean the writing?
The writing. We got the Hydra pin, which is really fucking cool. Because like there's almost more of like a silvery effect to the gold when it's like actually there in person. For like the plating of the outside. I know that sounds confusing, but you know the way like metal looks away in the light.
It's gold, but it also is silver if you look at it right.
And the thing is, we do sort of have sort of a celebratory special. I think what we're going to do is we're going to include those in everyone who is on the loot tier in September and October.
Right.
I will make a post about that fairly soon. Sweet. But yeah, plenty of stuff going on. We're back in that podcast train. As far as the loot goes, just about everything has been shipped. Our problems are solved. We're kind of over them, so that's really good. It absolutely took too long, but give it maybe 2.5 weeks for the final batch of orders that have been shipped out to land, and after that, if something's been lost in the post, we have had some things returned to sender. So we'll be following up with people whose things have been returned to sender because we're notified whenever that happens. So that might just be, post guy wanted a signature, and I mean they shouldn't require signatures, but you know how postage is.
Yeah.
So yeah, stuff's all fucking going damn good on that front.
Yep. So just 2 little quick bits of housekeeping. Belshazzar members do get the Lore Walking podcast. They are in the if you go to the playlist on the channel, you should see one that is called Lore Walking Podcasts open brackets members - only close bracket. It should be there. There's also a link to it in a recent community members post. I need to do one soon for this one because there are more members. Not every member is going to be here. And for Donatharion, who said, how is Wrath going to be different, and why are we assuming Dragonflight is clean unless we're clickbaiting? We're at the end of the stream. We've talked about that for about the guts of 3 hours, so feel free to go back and rewatch the stream. But if you want a summary, Wrath is having not new harder dungeons. The dungeons are being made harder as an option later on in phase 2, phase 3, in Old War phase, when Old War comes out. That's how it's looking different, and they're redesigning some of the gearing loop that looks really good. And Dragonflight's looking clean because loads of UI updates that are very, very nice. All the tremendous amount of class feedback. And also, as we went into, the story stuff is looking substantially better than it was in Shadowlands. Still not exceptional, but marked step up. And also, we haven't got the full story yet, so big disclaimer on that. Could have done that instead of the whole stream, but that wouldn't have been as fun. That would not have been as enjoyable.
There you go. Well, now that you've got the fucking 2-second summary, I guess the only final thing, of course, videos going up on all the channels. News channel, we have got content on the goddamn daily, which I'm very happy to say. So there'll always be new shit on our news channel. So that's sweet. Warcraft video went up today. I know it's almost like, bing, bing, wahoo, you must click this now video, but I would highly recommend checking it out. A lot of people do seem to enjoy it. A lot of people have been chiming in with their own suggestions. It's been really cool to read the comments on that one. WoW News will be up tomorrow, and I just want to, fucking go ham. To be honest with you, I feel like it's time to take some of our war chest and use it. So
Give it to me.
over the weekend, I'll think about how I can use that, because to be honest with you, I mean, even take Jared's big documentary video that we've had ready for a while. Yeah. There's that. The Ner'zhul video, like where we just fucking made uber fucking premium lore video, fucking giga tier. I need to just put that in Patreon and members. We should just fucking do that over the weekend, shouldn't we? Because I want that shit in the weekly. We're gonna need 2 more editors for that. It's goddamn, dude.
If not more for weekly.
And yeah, I know. And then in order to fund this expansion so we can make all this fucking content, I'm gonna need somebody who's gonna help get more sponsors on. And we can get all that shit, get the fucking epic content made, and it'll be a feast. And it'll be a feast of the top tier shit. So gotta do that. Or if you want to be a sugar daddy for a bunch of YouTubers, I guess there's that.
Yeah.
Any Saudi princes in chat?
Yeah. Also, yeah. Yeah, there's no real gender neutral term for sugar or whatever, but yes.
Sugar human.
Yes.
There we go. Yes. Now, I don't know, for whatever reason, I've just, for things that you're aware of, fucking Mojo's back.
You sound like you're still drunk from fucking Saturday, but yes. You might be with it. Yeah, that's the story.
Well, it was the first time we'd all met John in person, so I figure, why not really get to know John?
Yeah, that's a story for another day.
Yeah, no, it was good. Going out with the boys. Very good. Right. Good night, everybody. Time to go and see if the Rings of Power got interesting as episode 3. Episode 4 fell off a cliff, and now I'm goddamn worried about episode 5, but at least Hot D is coming in and being fucking excellent. So I'll report back. Till then, good night, everybody.
Yes, and for me, I'm going to go and play more Dragonflight so I can have a video done next week. I'm going to talk about Dragonflight a lot.
I need to level a Wrath of the Lich King classic character by the time the 50% XP boost goes away.
I mean, so do I, but that's Monday, so you're done.
Hyperbolic Type Chamber.
Easy. That's the thing about Hyperbolic Time Chambers. If you're isolating yourself time-wise, you can't play any online games. No one thinks of this. Everyone's like, I'd love a Hyperbolic Time Chamber to just play games all day. Fuck. That would be cool if you're playing old games and emulate games, but it doesn't work for online ones because you have to be connected to the server.
In that case, we do all of our script writing, indie game playing, and everything else in the time chamber.
Yeah.
And then our real world seconds we need to put into these MMOs.
Yeah.
Because I need to be there in Wrath. But the problem is, Jared rolled Horde on Jindo.
Yeah.
And honestly, the nostalgia bit of me, it's I want to go to Valence Keep.
I played Horde and Wrath, so I'm good. I'm playing a different class, though.
Tut.
Play a different class.
Tut. Anyway.
Yes, we should
Let's not do one of our famous 40-minute outros.
Yeah.
Good night, everybody. It was a fun stream. It was a pleasure. Have a great weekend, and we will see you again soon.